To what would you give each moment in a day if you knew that you only get 4 unique and different days to shine? It is such an arbitrary number, 4 to be sure. But the parameters are set. You know the day of your execution or of your deliverance. This is a trial by combat. It's a day to define you, a day to test you, a day where all the torturous hours of training come together, where it's you, your gun, your preparation, your teammates, and your tenacity on display, dissected by your enemies, with your skill, your will to win, weighed and measured. It is your chance to prove to the world that in this small slice of place and time, that you above all others are to be remembered, to be respected. In the sport of paintball, it will come down to Sunday, the holy day, where you get to earn your place in the game. And in 2021, you get 4 of these. So this is the story of many moments, but of 1 year of what happens on 4 Sundays.
They have to, they know it, right? Smart fucking paintball.
Malice is just saving the day again, and Malice gets the crossfield shot as well.
Guys couldn't make the corner like I was as consistent.
They get Konstantin Fedorov back. They have Todd Martinez as the coach. Randy Smith is intent on building a championship team.
I got the chills, and I was like, we're going to win this tournament.
Pressure's all on them because they're number 1 team. We're the 20th place team.
Level undefeated, the number 1 seed in their division.
They have everything to lose, and we have nothing to lose.
No one can touch Dynasty here. That was a complete masterclass.
You go to bed dreaming you get to play Impact on Sunday and send them home. Then you dream you get to play Houston Heat. Who's the other Titan? Dynasty. There's no better feeling than going up against the big Titans.
Welcome to Go Sports Live. I'm Matty Marshall, and a very happy new year to everybody out there in paintball land. We got Quinn Nadu here from Iconic Paintball, who's been coming up with all these awesome categories and all the stellar icons that exist in our sport in all these different categories. But today we're going to be announcing the actual icons of the year. So Quinn, before we jump into this, I love what you're doing with this. You've really been working hard on this. We've had some discussions behind the scenes about, who should or should not be. It's a very difficult conversation. We will discuss that a little bit on the show, but to be honest, I don't know how deep we're going to get into that because we got some special guests here. So without any further ado, why don't you kind of break it down for everybody?
So yeah, we're going to be announcing the Icon of the Year nominees for 2021. Now, what the Icon of the Year is, this is the person that pretty much best exemplifies as like the top dog of the NXL, not only on the field, but off the field. These are the guys that have, incredible poise. They're huge pieces of their team that lead them, deep into Sunday. These are just truly the best of the best in the league, and we're really focusing and just desiring to honor these guys and just kind of give them that notch to show like, hey, you truly are the best, and we appreciate all the effort you put into this game we love.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that, it involves both on and off the field. So you have to be absolutely top-tier elite talent that's had a good year, that the team has excelled, you personally have excelled, but then you're also doing stuff off the field that's helping propel our sport forward. So, and I agree. I think that, there's, we could argue about it for a long time. I'm sure people will, but there's only 5 nominees. And I think that every single person that's on this list is a badass in their own right, man. So without, any more beating around the bush, who is our first nominee?
So our first nominee for the Icon of the Year is going to be Marcello Margott of San Diego Dynasty. We're super happy to have him as one of our selections. When it comes to just pure consistency of excellence in this league, Marcelo is bar none at the top of the pro division in that way. He's this really defensive guy that showed he has a ton of versatility as the season went on, and he ended up being a huge part of Dynasty, even as more of an offensive guy at the World Cup, and he was a key figure in 2 event wins that they did have.
Yeah, not only was he, as we were talking about before, up in that defensive player of the year potential, but he just really shined again as, came up playing the first attacker, and with injury to Dalton, just slotted right in like a puzzle piece, and ended up becoming one of the MVPs of World Cup, and Dynasty winning 2 events in a row towards the end of the season. And we would like to actually bring Marcelo here in on the show. and get his opinion on this. So Marcello, welcome to the show. I know we only have you for a little bit of time, as we're going to try to get at least 4 of the 5 nominees in here. But yeah, man, congratulations on getting the nod here on the nominee icon of the year. You definitely deserve it. What are your thoughts?
Man, I mean, honestly, I'm sitting in the bottom right part of this screen watching you guys do that whole presentation, knowing I'm about to come in, and it's like, I don't know. It makes it feel like a real sport, right? Like, I love what you guys are doing. Quinn, it's amazing that you are even, created these nominations and these opportunities for players to achieve these things. And Matty, what you guys are doing with Go Sports, I just, to be honest, it's not even about me. It's about our sport and how awesome having stuff like this is. Like, I was sitting there, I'm a huge sports fanatic. I watch sports all the time. These stories are so crucial and just a really cool thing. So to be even included in the conversation is amazing.
Well, and I think that, again, the fact that you were MVP of Cup, that you transitioned from a 2-3 role, which you were playing outstanding, a very difficult position to play. You're always playing on one of the hardest spots on the field, what we sometimes call the trash cans, those tall cans that no one wants to play, that's super easy to get shot from, and you're just constantly gun batting for your life and then having to then take over the attack, but also what you and Tyler have been doing with the Play the Game podcast, and like you said, you've been in this for a long time, living it at its razor's edge and traveling around the world, being a big part of this sport and being a star. But then to get into the storytelling business, as we've talked about multiple times, doing lunches over beers that, forever, is it's really important because people don't just wake up and care about things. You have to tell them a good story. You got to show them something really cool, and there has to be a story to back that. So I love what you're doing with the podcast. I'm really happy that, Quinn has also got into this too. He's a paintball super fan. He knows what he's talking about. And I got that right away when we started kind of talking behind the scenes about stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just been awesome. But Quinn, do you have any, because I got some questions for Marcello, and again, we don't have him forever, but because we got to get to these other guys, and he's got a show he's got to do as well tonight. But Quinn, do you have any questions for Marcello?
Yeah, so one kind of cool thing when we're looking at the icons of the year, when we were doing this process, is we looked at all the players across the league and we said, what are those big signature moments throughout the season that really defines what the season ultimately was? So kind of what we ended up doing is for each icon of the year we have nominated, we kind of have our own signature moment that we tell a little bit of a story of the season through. I kind of wanted to talk to Marcello and go over from his perspective as a pro of kind of how these situations unfolded and how he took the reins and ran with it. So Marcello, let's talk about World Cup leading up to it. Just 1 week before the event was going to get ready to kick off, you guys saw Dalton Vanderbilt sustain an injury that was the end of his season. And suddenly you guys looked shorthanded on the Dorito side to where you were a little weak on the attack. And you kind of took it upon yourself to step up to the plate and just say, I'm going to take that spot and I'm going to do it well. And ultimately, you went through the World Cup event. You were critical for Dynasty all event long. And I felt you did that through like a really intricate but merciless kind of dissection of everyone you faced on the Dorito side. Especially so when we look at the finals. I mean, there was a point you guys were down by 2 points with just 8 minutes left. And you kind of took it upon yourself to go head-to-head against guys like Archie, Colt, Jesse. And you ultimately came out on top, kind of just really pushing down that side. So kind of what went through your head when Dalton went down and you realized that you were going to kind of have to become that guy on that side of the field?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that went through my head was my sympathy and heartbreak for Dalton, right? That's one of my best friends, somebody that I care about deeply, a huge part of the team. Him just even being at the field, being with the organization makes our team better. So it was a lot of heartbreak for his situation and understanding injuries, especially before World Cup. I mean, 2 of my ACL surgeries happened right before World Cup on teams that were contenders, about 10 years ago. So I know how hard that is. And that's the first thing I thought of was about him. It wasn't even really about, oh man, now we're shorthanded. The next thing was, this is a great opportunity. Someone has to attack over there, and I wanted it to be me. I think amazing. We're quote unquote shorthanded. We still had a ton of stellar players. We still had, a good roster, period. It's Dynasty. I think we said this when Tyler left, and I love Tyler to death, but the team Dynasty is always going to be bigger than one player. So somebody step up. And to be completely honest, it's also a little less pressure in that scenario, right? Because I can go over and play the one on the Dorito side, and if I don't do that great, you can always fall back on, hey, that's not my usual role. But to be honest, I mean, that's where I've played most of my career, is the one on the Dorito side, and maybe not most of my career. God, I'm getting old now. But that's where I thrive. That's where I really right. That's where I really enjoy to play. Attacking on the Dorito side. It's a game that I understand meticulously. It's something that I enjoy doing. I had a lot of fun at World Cup, and so yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say about it. It was just it happened, and it's how are you going to step in and fill those shoes, and you go out there and you have fun. We're playing a game out there, and I was just having a blast doing it.
And then, if I can add to that, Marcelo, or kind of put like another section on that question, and we had talked a little bit about this, when we discussed it, and it just, man, it was just such an interesting battle on that Dorito side. And then going back and kind of, looking at watching all those games, it was a very tactical battle, but also when guns came off that side, there were really big opportunities there. So how did you kind of measure when you needed to gunfight? You won a lot of gunfights over there. I really feel that, when I go back, I really feel that was one of the biggest assets. Well, there are three parts to it. One, your survivability. Look, everyone's going to get shot. Sure, you got shots and points. Everyone got shot. It's paintball, dude. If you're not getting shot, you're not risking enough. You can't hide forever. But your willingness to engage, the fact that you won a lot of really crucial gunfights and crucial moments against top level players in the deep water. And then, once the guns came off, there was a lot of opportunities on that D side. So you were able to steal some stuff over there. Kind of talk to me, tactically speaking, what was going on in your mind on that side. Again, transitioning back to a front first attacker position, having had to play, a little bit more careful paintball before this. But the reins were off a little bit on this one for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this Dorito side looked so fun. It was traditional. It was what I was used to. There's not a ton of massive bunkers blocking things out. So it was really heads up. It was a gunfight battle. It was methodical. That's what I thrive in. I am confident going up in a gunfight against anybody in the league, especially if I'm on that day. I'm comfortable with it. Like, let's go. I'm not going to shy away from that gunfight. So for me, I think I said this before on a show, Matty, my intention at World Cup was we're not going to lose on my side. It was the type of side where I knew I can control the opponent no matter who it was. So they couldn't come down and shoot a bunch of our guys. And then I'm going to steal some points. That was my intention with that layout, right? It's just what that layout called for. Some fields, some sides, it's like you need the player to get in the 50, wrap, shoot 2 bodies and come off the field. Like you need that attack. There's some of those snakes where you have to funnel bodies through that. It wasn't like that on this Dorito side. Again, it was very methodical, 1 bunker at a time. If this guy's not on you, you can take, 2 bites. If this guy's on you, you have to put that guy in, make this move. It was pretty easy, to be honest. It was a pretty easy side. You just have to be gun dominant and understand the situations and the variables. So I knew that it was going to be a side that I could play very well. And again, like I said, my mission was exactly that. Just don't let us lose on this side and then steal big points on this side. Right. That was the intention going in, and I think it happened.
And one thing I kind of wanted to touch on too, while we're talking about that event, I think really when we look at the signature moment of that event with you, I really think it comes down to that really last minute or so of the finals. I mean, scores 5-5, you find yourself out in the Dorito 1, kind of a bit isolated, and the point kind of starts to fall apart a little bit. And then you kind of made the decision to drop back and fill back into the tower. And that ended up being, kind of the key move that put you guys ahead by a point and ultimately won you the title. Kind of what went through your head where you thought, this is the time I got to, get my feet back under me, get back to, do a little bit of a tactical retreat and get this under control?
Yeah, to be honest, Quinn, for me personally, I don't think that was my signature moment in that match. I remember in that point, I didn't know if I had anybody alive. So I look into the bunker to see if I have anyone in the snake corner, and I try to yell for him, couldn't quite hear. And then I made that move thinking I was the last one alive, and I was hoping to catch Colt coming down the Dorito side and then make it a 1-on-1. But then I realized I had Mikey in the corner and he went off, had a great point. Was that the 5-5 point? Because the 5-5 point was what I thought was a signature moment, which I went to the tower heads up with Archie, shot Archie right away, made it a 5-4 in a crucial moment in that match. I don't know if that was the same point. I kind of forget. I should have watched again. But I mean, it was either
I
that
have
one or
the
the very
notes.
first point.
I
Yeah,
literally
and so
have
it
like
was that
every
point.
single play-by-play, note by note of that entire single, like a 500-word write-up on this. If you give me a second, I could probably find it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, I mean,
watching that. That was a
real quick. Like for me personally, I think, and this is, me thinking and reflecting on my own game. I think a signature moment, and it's early in the match, but it's the first point. We lose Mikey on the break. It's a 4-on-5, and I take a big bite down the Dorito side, get into the Dorito 3, crawl right into the Dorito 4, wrap and shoot Colt. It's a 4-on-4. Then they shoot another one of us. It's 3-on-4, and I kind of go off and shoot a couple other people. And that's like a pace that the other team hasn't quite seen or was going to expect from me, right? Is that fast play. Is all of a sudden I was in the 50 and shooting people. So for me, I thought that was kind of a signature thing because it's a little out of character, I guess. I guess the narrative somehow has gotten now that I'm a super slow player. But I felt that moment in the very first point was like, hey, we could have been down a body, down a point. Who knows? That the first point of a match is really crucial. It's a lot of momentum there.
Well, if I could just, I think you're not going to get on a list like icon of a year if you only like. I love that there is a signature moment, but dude, you're not going to get on this list unless you have tons of these moments. And as I'm going through the notes of this final game, which I just rewatched, I think yesterday or the day before, there's a bunch of them for you, Marcello, in this last game. You had a really big point where Yosh contained meter long enough, and then you went and hit the buzzer when it was 4-3 with 7 minutes left. You were able to, get a really good shot on some dudes in the 4-4 point. And then that 5-5 point, that very first note is, Dynasty held up short, Alex shot off the break, Marcello shot Archie heads up in a crucial gunfight. So that's just 3 separate moments. I mean, that's just me casually taking a glance at my notes from the final. So yeah, it's not just one moment. It's accumulation of these moments to create, a cup full of whoop ass that you laid on all your enemies this year that has allowed you to be bestowed one of the nominees for Icon of the Year.
Yeah, thank you, Matty. I mean, like I said, I'll say it was definitely a good layout for me to play the one on the Dorito side. I will admit, like one of my weaknesses in the game is the blind chaos where to me it doesn't take much skill. It's like just run to the 50 and hope the guy's not on the other side of you. I don't know. I think too much for that kind of shit, So I'm like, it's when I saw that Dorito side being the one over there where I can put anybody in that I need to make my moves and I can control this side. I mean, that kind of shit is ideal. So just kind of lined up, I guess.
Yeah, it all worked out perfect, man. I mean, and what a crazy story for you personally and Dynasty, and the fact you guys did start out with the 10th place, and then immediately catapulted back up, took the 3rd, and then 2 firsts. So, just kind of reflecting upon the drama of that, obviously with COVID, and I know you've been coaching a ton, and it's just been you just kind of getting more and more involved and kind of just, I mean, how much longer do you think you got? I still think that you're going to have, I don't know, probably another 10 years, dude, to be honest. But I mean, just, it's always got to ask the question when guys get as deep into their careers and as successful. I mean, do you still feel the fire? I think you do. I see it, but I have to ask that question or I wouldn't be doing my job.
I think I have the fire more. It's hard to say more than I ever have, but one thing I know for sure is I wake up and everything I think about is how I can get better at paintball, what I can do to help the game and both on and off the field. I feel like I'm starting to understand things a little bit better on the field. I'm learning things more and more. And it's so funny because a couple of years ago, I really thought through coaching, I was like, no, I understand all the X's and O's. I get it. I can look at a layout, figure out the best game plan, this and that, yada, yada, yada. But there's things that I'm kind of unlocking that are like mind blowing. And they're a little more, I don't want to say spiritual, but they're less X's and O's and a little more philosophy of how to approach a match, things of that nature. And it's really exciting because I think, that is kind of coming together with me also feeling like I'm in the best physical shape I've been in since I tore my ACLs. I've talked about this openly on podcasts and on your show, I think, Matty, but I've had a few programs that have like really propelled my athleticism again, which is amazing because I have the confidence to make certain moves and do certain things, there's times in the past where it's like, okay, it's unnecessary. I don't need to make this move because we're going to win this point. So I'm going to stay right here. Right. And it's a lot of that is stuff that kind of just sits in the back of your mind, and you manage your body while you're out there when you can. Right. That has kind of like drifted away from me. So I don't know, Matty. I mean, I really think we're going to enter an era, at least I hope, right, where I'm playing really well at a really high level for many more years. That's the goal. I feel confident about that. I feel that it's everything's kind of coming together with this team, with Dynasty, my comfortability with everybody, things that I'm trying to work on and improve on personally. Yeah, I'm excited. I really think that I'm kind of getting into the prime years of my career here. And that's like that for a lot of paintball players, right? It's usually, you look at Archie, like he really entered his prime around 32, 33-ish, right? 2019, you could say definitely was his best season ever. It was magical, some of the stuff that he put together. And I think at that time he was like 33 years old. Pretty good number. Makes sense. But you know, 10 years. I mean, you know, if we're able to, I know that it is just such a huge passion of mine. This game is everything. It truly is. It's I obsess over it, you know, and so I'm not ready to even think about.
Well, if you look at and then Quinn, you know, before we let him go, we got him for about another 4 minutes, but I agree. I definitely agree. It's interesting. We are seeing a churn right now. We're seeing some, you know, a decent amount of guys that have retired just in the past month, that we're going to continue to see this the next couple years. But guys like yourself that are reaching that kind of pinnacle of both the physical nature of you being able to be a beast, combined with the maturity of the mind that has seen so many different variables and seen that 10,000 hours plus and is moving into that mastery. And then you get that sweet spot. And that's why when you have complex things, if you look at mixed martial arts, is interesting. Like no one's, you know, well, we're not supposed to be getting punched in the face, but I know how some of you crazy dudes get lawless at your fields, but out there in the NXL, you know, it's not supposed to happen. But with paintball is a very visceral thing. You know, your mind, it's just dialed up and fired up because you are getting shot at, and you are in that very crucial adrenaline dump, you know, flow state. And so, yeah, man, I mean, there's a reason why, you know, if you look at the champions in mixed martial arts, a lot of those guys, some of them approach 40, you know, so, and you look at how good Dynasty is right now and how good Impact and Heat and all these guys have been, they're not giving that up. Now we have these young dudes coming in. So I think things are getting really interesting. We could see a little bit, not as much parity as we saw this past season. You know, we'll see. I mean, that's up to the younger dudes to step up. But yeah, Marcello, I think you still have your best years in front of you, which is scary for the rest of the league, but I'm happy for you. It's been badass to watch your career so far, since you were just a wee little tot, and now you're a grown ass man just slaughtering people, getting nominees for Icon of the Year and World Cup MVPs. It's badass, dude. I'm really
Crazy.
I'm stoked for you, man. Quinn, you got anything for Marcello before we let him go?
Yeah, man. Again, just, you know, Marcello, as I always say, congratulations on this season, man. Like you really did have a killer year. I mean, you were arguably just the most consistent guy all year, where you just brought that elite 10 out of 10 level at every single event. And I really think it's funny when I look back, because I remember having a conversation with Alex right after Philly. And I was talking to Alex Chase, was like, man, is it me, or is Marcello did he hit like gear 11 now this season all of a sudden? Like, it just felt like, as you said, I mean, you said you feel really healthy this year. It's almost just like you got to a point where it was just everything, you're at your max potential with everything, and you're just thriving and getting better and better somehow. So I'm super excited that you're one of our Icon of the Year nominees, man.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, man, it truly just comes from a love of the game. I know when younger kids ask me, like, what can they do to get better? The first thing I say is, you got to love the game a lot. Because if you love the game a lot, none of it seems like work. You know, you go out, you do drills, you wake up, you try to think about ways to get better. You enjoy watching film. You enjoy studying other players. You enjoy learning, figuring out how to create things out there. It's a whole process that has really given me a major purpose in life, right? So this game is just amazing. It's fantastic. And yeah, that's really what it boils down to, man, is just being obsessed and in love with the game.
Yeah, awesome. It's my last thought before, you know, we say goodbye though, Marcello, is that what you just said reminded me of, and this is not the most loquacious and well-spoken man in the history of sports, but he said something in an interview that blew my mind in its simplicity, but its potency. And it was Nick Diaz, not Nate Diaz, who's gotten more famous recently, but Nick, his older brother, and who just fought and may retire. Regardless, he was doing an interview, and they were like, what do you think about, what does it take to, you know, be and essentially iconic in this sport. And he said, I'm a paraphrase, but he basically said is you have to work so hard and do this thing so much that you hate it. But in the torture of that hate, that's when you find your love for it. And if you can put yourself in that situation on a regular basis and thrive in that hate to find the love, he's like, that's where success and greatness dwells. And I was like, what is going on right now? We have Socrates is all of a sudden Nick Diaz. What is going on? So you just reminded me of that. And you've definitely, you really work your ass off. So props to you, my friend. I'm happy you got this. We'll see who wins, but you're definitely up there in the running. It's always been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Any last thoughts before I let you go?
No, man, just another huge thank you for what you guys are doing here at Go Sports. Quinn, thank you for everything you're doing with Iconic Paintball. This is amazing stuff for the sport, man. And again, just an honor to even be in this conversation. I was sitting in the waiting room waiting just like as a fan, not even realizing that my name is called to be on this thing. I don't even know that it's quite set in, but it's just so good for our sport for us to have these kind of accolades and things to, remember the players. And, a lot of the players, they make a ton of sacrifice throughout their entire lives, their entire careers. It's not like we get a huge monetary benefit. So this is, it's special. It's a step in the right direction. And man, applaud you guys. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Thanks, Marcello.
Sure.
I guess best of luck in this year here in 2022 and with the show this evening. So Quinn, we got 4 more to go here. It doesn't look like we're going to get everyone, but I think we're going to get everyone. But I guess we could kind of wait for him. We'll talk to him at the end. But let's talk about the guy we're going to bring here on next. He had a hell of a year as well, too. It's a little interesting that we had Marcello on first. But yeah, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so next we're going to bring in a guy who we have kind of talked about already at Iconic as one of our nominees for Icon of the Year, and everyone knows that's Tyler Harmon of Houston Heat. This guy is just the most versatile player, I think, in the sport of paintball. He's a fearsome gunfighter that nobody wants to go head-to-head against, and we saw that throughout the year. I mean, Matty, you're up in the booth handing out those 101 coins all year, and I'm sure you gave, a small fortune at this point to Tyler with how effective he was. But he just really exemplifies to me what we want to see in an Icon of the Year again. I mean, he's this ultra positive guy, always looking to grow the sport of paintball in any way that he can. And I'm just so appreciative that a guy like him, is at the forefront of our sport.
Absolutely. Tyler Harmon is, if you hang out with Tyler, he's a breath of fresh air. But that fresh air comes like the whirlwind, dude. That dude is super intense, laser focused. I mean, it's hard to look away from his eyes as he's a laser beaming you when he's speaking to you, if you have ever been in his presence. Speaking of his presence, I think we do have him in the waiting room. We'd like to bring him in here if he is ready to go. Yeah, there he is, Tyler Harmon, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
What's going on, dudes?
The sparkling ray of sunlight warming up all around him. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing phenomenal. Honored to be here with you, gentlemen.
Well, congratulations here. Icon of the Year. What a crazy, trippy year for you, though. It started off with a team that you had been playing with for a long time. I mean, you've been around this sport. Obviously I've been playing, seeing Marcello play since he was like 14, 15. But dude, I was playing against you when you were a pro back when you were like 12 years old on Bob Long's Ironman, dude. And now you're a grown ass man. You're a dad, business owner. Dude. It's just so amazed how far that you've come and all the things that you've been able to accomplish. But it was a pretty crazy year. And, Icon of the Year. Yeah. I mean, you made that bump to a superstar team, Houston Heat in a pretty, a chaotic move in the sense that a lot of people didn't think you were going to make it. Maybe you didn't think at the beginning of the year you're going to make it. We've discussed this. We did a show with Tyler. Tyler's been open about all this stuff. He's discussed it before, so you guys can go back in the rabbit hole on that. But then, immediately you come on to Heat and you guys win the second event. And then you guys are threatening all year long, a 5th, a 3rd place at World Cup. I mean, after the 11th place, when you weren't on the team in the beginning for Houston Heat, but it was just, yeah. And then you personally, Quinn was talking about how many one-on-one coins that Hormesis coin duel coins that I gave to you, but I know you got a shit ton of those. You got like a Pirates locked box here, probably some in your house holding all the one-on-ones that you won this year. But it was, it was an incredibly impressive year. But yeah, dude, it was a badass year. So maybe why don't we start with, because, again, you have to go do a show too, so we don't have you forever. But, I think the first question would be, did this year play out the way that you thought it would, or are you just kind of swimming in the ocean of possibility right now?
Yeah, first of all, super grateful, first of all, for this honor to be sitting here talking about this and in the presence of the guys that I'm in the running of Icon of the Year for. It's, those are all my best friends. I know people want to write it out as me and Dynasty have beef, but those are my brothers. I have nothing but respect for that organization and everything that they've done for me as a person, as a player. And I'm super excited for the future. This year was phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about playing for Houston Heat. Mama D, Sarge, the whole family at Houston Heat is just honestly unbelievable. And I couldn't be surrounded by better people. So I'm really grateful for that. It definitely was a whirlwind of a year, super crazy. We had the internet on fire there for us for a little while. And it was exciting and it was fun. And then to obviously go into that first event and get, a big W is definitely always what we're going for. And that's what this organization is predicated on doing is winning world titles. So obviously we came up short. We didn't win World Cup. We didn't win, a series title. And those are the things that we're after as an organization. So definitely be on the lookout for Heat to, keep pushing towards those big championships in 2022 and striving for greatness, because that's what we're here to do.
For sure, man. Kind of as we talk about Houston Heat a little bit, I don't know if you were watching the part of the show when we were talking with Marcello, but kind of as I mentioned, each nominee we have for the Icon of the Year, we have those signature moments. Obviously, again, a guy like you, I could pick 50 out from this season that, could go head to head against anyone else's kind of big moments from the year, because you've had a ton of them. But to me, I think the signature moment for you, when I look back at the season, was when we look at the Mid-Atlantic Major. And a big reason is because you were coming off of, stepping away from Dynasty and joining Heat. And that can, be a lot of pressure, stepping away from a group of guys that are basically your family. And then, at the same time, come out and go head to head against them. But we actually got to see you during the game against Dynasty in the semifinals, which, Dynasty had a little bit tough of an event. They were struggling with some injuries, but they really showed kind of how versatile they are as a team. And you were kind of tasked with shutting down quite a surging Mike Urena throughout the event. He kind of had a coming out at the Mid-Atlantic Major. And you were honestly a big reason that you guys were able to beat them 8-4. As we kind of touched on it prior, I mean, what was it like going head to head against Dynasty on the field after playing with them for almost a decade?
It was, different, obviously. And major shout out to Mikey. That kid is from Arizona out here, and I love him, super proud of him and everything that he's doing in the game. And, it was very exciting. Like I said, I never imagined that I wouldn't be on Dynasty. It's just, certain things went the way that they went, and that's just the things that had to go down and the moves that I had to make. But it's definitely, always going to be a thrilling match whenever Heat plays Dynasty. It's going to be, one of those top viewed games, I'm sure.
Yeah, man. I know it was. Go ahead, Matty.
No, go ahead, Quinn. No, go ahead, Quinn.
I was just gonna say, man, I know after it happened, I mean, you were a little bit vocal in the field, which, I'd love to see. One thing I kind of wanted to touch on too, when we're talking about Heat, what was it like when you stepped in right away? Because obviously, you're a really personable guy. A lot of those guys in the team, you've known for 15, 20 years now. And one thing I always kind of think back on you is seeing kind of all the weird faces and stuff you do with Sarge in the pits. It seemed like you were able to build like this really kind of kinetic energy right away with that group. How did that process go for you?
It's been really smooth. Todd Martinez, my coach, is my inspiration. I feel like a piece of me is Todd Martinez. Like that's my dog. That's my boy. And I told him that one time when we were out in Europe, having a pint after an event. And I was just like, dude, you're my spirit, bro. And like, I'm so grateful to know you in this game and to be apprenticed, by you, and to pick your brain about the little intricacies of the game is everything to me, because growing up, that was one of my favorite paintball players ever. And Matty, you too, dude. Like, you guys have done so much for this game on so many levels that it's unspeakable. We would sit here all night if we really dove into it, because you guys have been in this game applying yourselves the whole entire time. And so transferring into Heat was really easy. Sarge, he calls me old bug eyes, so like I always give him the crazy bug eyes, and like just, I'm going crazy out there having fun, and that's it. That's the thing about this team, is it's the most carefree, fun team I've ever been a part of. The guys are just phenomenal. We've been playing against each other for so long that I already knew them essentially as players, and it made the transition really easy because we've been playing against each other for so long. So naturally, that time that it takes to knock off the rust is just gone, just because of the amount of competitions we've played against each other.
Yeah, and I think it's funny too, because I look at a lot of thing that a lot of fans don't see is a lot of the pro teams in the pits, and I think Heat, especially with you involved now, it's really fun to watch because a lot of teams obviously have a super serious kind of crazy focus as the matches are going on, and not that you guys don't have that. Obviously, Heat takes it very seriously, as we've seen with the success you guys have had. But it's just kind of this really fun, exciting energy where everybody's like laughing, having fun between points, calling out their kills as they come in. Like it's just really fun, I think. And it's something I think, I hope we can show fans more and more as the season goes on this year.
Absolutely. We're going to heat it up.
Yeah. Well, Heat's definitely one of those teams that I have a soft spot for. I've spent a lot of time with Chad George and Ryan Morat. I played with those dudes in 10-man before. And obviously, I was the best man at Todd's wedding. Todd's one of my best friends ever. And there's just a lot of good dudes on that team. I played golf with Randy Smith. He's actually a pretty decent golfer and pretty fun to chill with, dude. Like it's pretty easy to spend time with Randy, man. I like everyone on that squad, and obviously incredibly good at this game of paintball, and have been one of those leading lights in our sport, pushing things forward. I'm a big fan of people that give my friends a chance to get paid to play this game. So especially if they're fun to hang out with. So the fact that this actually exists and that, you've had this opportunity, you made the most of it. But I do agree. It was, going back, if I had to choose, there was really no one moment for me. It was like I kind of told Marcello, it was a bowl full of badass that you served to the rest of the league in order for you to kind of get this nod. And also interesting too, because you were playing on the snake side a lot as the 2, and we're just relentless, man. And the gunfights on the fills, finishing games, winning low body situations. It was really, really impressive to watch you. I've been watching you again since you were literally 12 years old. That's not an exaggeration. And then and now I'm playing against you back then when the gun was like bigger than your torso. And then now I'm like looking up to you like, what's up, Tyler? How you doing, bud? And I'm not small, but yeah. So it's been cool to see. But you just, again, man, just keep getting better every goddamn year, dude. And I really think that, it's like, I think Archie going to Dynasty will be good for Heat. I think it will be good for Archie. The guys on Heat got to step it up now. And then Archie's going to have a renewed story to tell himself to get him motivated. And when you've been doing this forever and have done everything you possibly can do, you have to have that story that you tell yourself. And I think it was a breath of fresh air for your career to make the move to Heat, even though it was, hard on everyone at the time. But look at how it all shook out for everyone. You immediately go to Heat and help win. And then they end up having this badass year. I do got to ask you, I know you're still homies with all the Dynasty guys, but with the, leaving, they obviously started out not great, 10th, and you were part of that 10th place. Then you guys ended up knocking them out of the tournament, and then you guys take the first place, but then they go on to just, kind of go off towards the end of the year, win 2 events, and we haven't in a row. It's been a while since we've seen that. Before I let you go, I do got to get your thoughts on the world champs, because that team as intimately as anybody does.
Yeah, I think I pissed them off. I don't know what happened there, but they man, and
see, it was good for them. It was good for them.
Yeah. Congratulations to Dynasty and all that they accomplished. And like I said, I love every single one of those players. And this goes for the entire pro community. I'm just so blessed to be a part of this community. All the players that we have in the pro circuit are outstanding, and I'm excited for paintball moving into the future. I had to make some really big life decisions in the last couple of years. You know, I lived in California. I owned a business, and I devoted my entire existence to this sport, you know, and it was not easy. I had to make some monumental changes. We moved across the country. I brought my kids to a new state. My wife had to make major shifts, but we all aligned for what we knew, what was best for our family and for me doing what I love. And I can't thank the people, and you all know who you are out there who have helped me with that journey, because it's been everything to me. And now I can pour my entire existence into this game.
Well, it's worked out for you, man. I mean, again, you're sitting on an Icon of the Year nominee, and you were everyone talks well about you to your face, but you know, to be honest, also when we're all just hanging out and you're not around, we all speak really highly about you then too, bro. So you're doing something right, dog. Keep it up. No, it's been a blessing, Tyler. Thank you so much. I know you got to go and get to a show. Play the Game podcast. So that's another reason that you're on this list. Obviously, you know, Quinn with Iconic Paintball, and go check out all the stuff he's been doing behind the scenes. There's so much content to dive into. It's super fun to nerd out super hard about, you know, all this awesome paintball stuff, because at the end of the day, that's what we really all are, man. I just love watching dudes out pretending to play war, even to this day. It was fun on day one when I was 15 years old, and here I am 44, and it's still super fun to watch. So, you know, so definitely check out Play the Game podcast, and the fact that you guys came into the storytelling business. Thank you so much for that. We need as many people telling stories as we possibly can, because it is crucially important to make people understand. And I use that word, the verb in that, make people understand, because there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the paintball world. So, Tyler, I'm happy to see you doing all the things that you're doing and thriving, my friend. So, any last thoughts before you sign off?
No, I just want to say thank you, Go Sports. Thank you, Iconic. Thank you, everybody who makes the NXL and these programs possible. We have Tom Guest on PTG, and shout out to PTG one time with Marcello. You know, we got the PTG club for the Icon of the Award here as well. And yeah, man, just thank you all. Thank you all for playing paintball and for tuning in and loving paintball the way we should, because it deserves everything. It deserves all the light. It's one of the greatest sports in the world.
It really is. Hey, man, blessings to you and the family, Tyler. You have an amazing beginning of the year, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, brother. Yes, sir. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, take care.
You too.
Quinn, so we're moving along here. Obviously, I love the first two picks you got with Marcello and Tyler, you know, with what they've been doing with Play the Game podcast. And they brought that out during the COVID times to, you know, to really just kind of keep things going. And that's one of the reasons that they're chosen for this. And then they had outstanding years, you know, I mean, just the fact that Tyler's been continuing to get better. He's played Todd does not sit him. He plays almost every single point on a team that has 11 studs on it. And then Marcello with the MVP at World Cup. Now, talking about an MVP, maybe you could introduce this next guy that we're about to bring onto the show here. Kind of doesn't really need much of an introduction, as he's one of the best players ever to play the game. Actually, number one on your list, and I might be on my list too. So break it down for me.
Yeah, man, you know, it's hard to give an introduction to a guy that has, you know, more than 70 event wins, dozens of season titles and World Cup victories. But again, we're super happy to announce Ryan Greenspan of San Diego Dynasty as our third nominee for the Icon of the Year. Obviously, again, Dynasty played super well this year. I was a little reserved at first when we started to have the conversations about potentially nominating two guys on one team. But, you know, Ryan has just been so excellent all year long. I mean, he has been a Swiss Army knife for San Diego Dynasty throughout the year. I mean, pretty much playing anywhere and everywhere they've needed him to. So, again, we're super excited to have a guy with such a strong pedigree in the sport and such an illustrious track record as Ryan as one of our nominees.
Yeah, so if Ryan, I think he's waiting in the wings, we can bring him on here. But yeah, I mean, Ryan, again, you know, part of BKI, the Paintball Combine, he coaches teams. He's a owner of Field One in the Force. I mean, again, just like you said, 70+ wins. He's got the Spick and Span show. He's doing stuff behind the scenes on the field. Played through an injury this year, too. I'm hyping you up right now, dude. I'm hyping Ryan Greenspan up. You deserve to be hyped, my friend. You deserve some hype right now. How you feeling, Ryan?
I'm feeling really good, actually, and thank you guys for having me. It's an honor. I appreciate everything both of you guys are doing for the sport. Obviously, Matty, you've been in it for a long time. I know Quinn, you've been in it a long time for the behind the scenes. But man, you are doing a fantastic, amazing, exceptional job, Quinn, on getting paintball like back. Like people excited about everything and talking about everything. You're doing such a fantastic job, and Matty, obviously, you don't need anybody to tell you that. A man, a well-read man, stacking that bookshelf behind you. So
you want to borrow one? I got enough. I can hook you up, dog. I
use this stuff to muffle my sound. Sloan's kitchen back here.
What do you got? Your purple pony back there? A Force?
Yeah, I've got my new JT goggles, my Signature Series Signature Series Force, and a My Little Pony in the microwave right here. So this is the Spick and Span Studios that I'm coming at you live from.
yeah,
man.
Was just there, dude.
It
looks even better
before we jump into the Icon of the Year stuff, let's talk a little bit quick about Dynasty back on JT, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, we're super pumped. I mean, it's such a cool way that we finished out this season. It's such a it's a very surreal like ending to this season in the last 2 years with HK Army, and then just having one of our most successful seasons to date. Obviously that run that we had in the very beginning with JT was huge and monumental as well. But this is just a cool way to have it kind of come full circle and allow us to get back in the gear that we started in. Obviously, us having Field One and creating our own platform to compete with is fantastic and a really, really cool opportunity as well. But yeah, this is we're excited. We're excited to see what we got. All this stuff is being shipped to my house right now. I should have it like Monday or Tuesday, and I'm really excited just to see everything.
So Ryan, I got a question for you. We know each other a long time, and you're kind of a realist. You're very positive about things, and you're definitely one of the best guys that I've ever met. I lived with you for a long time, and when things were not going well, you and I would joke like, "Well, dude, as long as we don't die, if we make it out of here, this will just be a great story." So as much as you are a positive person, you try to keep that vibe going when things are not necessarily going great. You are also a realist too. So I got to ask you, as a realist, as a little bit of a stoic, did you really think that things were going to go this well for you guys in the past 5 events? Because I know you're thinking positive, but like, dude, you guys have won 2 World Cups in a row, 2 events in a row. You guys are back on top. You found a badass snake player. Like, I know you healed up through your back injury. Like, things are going incredibly well for you guys. The gun's kicking ass. Like, everything is just kind of grooved and dialed in right now.
Yeah, Matty, it's hard to say, because everybody wants to go in with that. Everybody's positive when we go into every event. Everything is, everybody's like, all right, we're going to do this. This is our event. We're going to win this. But, there is some reality when you're like, some of the guys are not going to win this event. There's a lot of teams out there that like, they go into this thing and if they're like, they're lying to themselves, and I don't like to lie to myself. I don't like to, I do you right. I like to tell it straight, so sometimes you have doubt. I mean, the season was looking a little bleak when I woke up that first weekend, the first Monday after our very first practice, and I couldn't even tie my shoes. I could barely get out of bed because my back was seized up so badly. That was the first major injury that I really had to deal with because that didn't have a timeline. And then, going into the first event, like as of practice, that Thursday of the Florida event, something was off. Something was off Tyler. Something was off. The team chemistry wasn't there. And things were certainly looking bleak leading into that event. And then obviously when he quit, things were, I was feeling better. The team seemed like we were kind of a good rebound. I mean, 10th place, that's a really lousy situation no matter where you cut it. You look at Heat, didn't even make Sunday that event. So, I mean, like, it could be worse. But, it's hard to say, like, do I want us to win every event? It's so funny. I remember back when we went 8 for 10, NPPL and PSP back then. We went 8 out of 10. We won 8 out of 10. We lost 2 events to you guys, Matty, to Excessive, both in Chicago, mid events where, let's go. And I remember Johnny Perchek being so mad and someone's like, you can't win them all. And he's like, dude, why not? I want to win every single game. Like, yes, you can. You know, I remember Johnny, and that resonated with me. Obviously, that was 2005 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
And we ended up winning the next 2 or 4 2 events after that, or I think World Cup might have been the last 2 after that, and then we went 12 straight in Europe. But you can win all
16.
That meant 16 straight. Sorry, yeah. I'm glad I got you here, man. My stat man. So yes, I mean, you need to go in with that mentality of I can win all of this. And I think that our performance in Philly was pretty stellar, to be completely honest. I know it's third place. We lost to Heat. Heat ended up winning that event. Both Tyler and Fedorov had a phenomenal event, you know, which propelled them forward to that win. But you know, like we were scrapping pretty hard over there. I mean, we were down to 5 guys. One of them had a screws in his hand, you know? So I think that the team, we had the winning formula, you know. It was just, we needed to get through that first event, you know, and we had Kevin, was the first time coach. There was a lot of things. So I don't know why I've gone on a tangent there.
No, that's okay. Tangents are fine, even though we don't have you forever. But I think that
you got me forever, man.
But well, Quinn. So I know, Quinn, you have a signature moment. But the one thing that I just want to say, and I think it's awesome, is that, you know, I again, barring you guys physically breaking down, look, nothing lasts forever. At some point in time, the knees do give out, the back does give out. You know, I remember talking to Bob Long, and at the time, Bob was probably, approaching 60, but he's like, yeah, Matty, he's like, enjoy it while you can, man, because he's like, the heart never dies, but the body eventually does. But the one thing that the Dynasty's renewed success here this past 2 years, through all the COVID craziness, and then this year, while things were a little bit back to normal, but still having to deal with the bullshit, but the fact you guys have put up 3 wins in 5 events, and then 2 in a row, and a first, and you guys are either 40 or pushing 40, and then you're picking up younger guys like Mike Urena, who wasn't really proven before, and then taking that, that guy, and he's thriving, and then Blake continuing to get better, and it's just, to me, it sends a giant statement. It's like, when paintball changed from 10-man to the NXL back in the day, and then it was like, we don't need the guys that know how to play this game. We need robots. No one cares what their names are. Let's just give them, machine guns shooting 25 balls a second and have them just run down the field and cause carnage. And it's like, that's not actually what paintball is. And the fact that you guys have renewed it again and have had this rebirth and this renaissance and this resurgence here, it proves that you can be 40 years old and play this game like a goddamn magician, and I just love to see it because, it's good. And it just sends a lot out to everyone out there. It's like, look, this is possible. If you're currently playing pro and yet you have it in your mind and you can make this part of your life and you love it, like you can do this for a while. And because you guys don't look like you're slowing up anytime soon. It would not surprise anyone if you guys go and crush next year too. So it's really, really good for you guys. It's really good for the sport. So I'm just, I just wanted to tip my hat to you and the boys. Good job, dude.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the nice comments and everything. And we're just one thing I always like to say is we're just trying to have a good time. I'm trying to have fun, and I'm always having fun. Sometimes we get on each other's nerves and this and that. That's just part of it. But we talked about this just yesterday, actually, when we're talking about another Go Sport with other Go Sports 4 Sundays thing is you got to look forward. You have to look past the bullshit. You got to if you have a bad day, if you have a bad event, if you have a bad weekend, that's not the end of the road, and it's just so many people dwell on, I just got shot. Who cares? We're going to be playing a lot more paintball. You got to get past it. You can't be weak-minded here. You cannot have a weak mind. You can't get upset because no one saw you bunker somebody and said, good game, buddy. You can't get upset because you got shot because you didn't like the game plan. There's a moment for that frustration, but dude, just shovel it, just brush it off to the side, put a smile on, and go out there and be a menace, on the field, to the bad guys, and do your job and figure it out. Right. But another thing is a big tribute to our success. My success is obviously the guys around us, pushing us, me and Marcello constantly in a battle for who's right with the game plan. You know, me and Alex constantly in battle for who's going to do this or that. You know, it's like you got to have the ebb and flow. You can't just be like, what do we do next? What do we do next? You know, like you can't just wait for it to come for you. You got to be asking the questions, and we push each other really hard. And that's part of our success. You know, you should have seen you saw Oliver and I mean,
I used to joke. I'd be like, I would pay an admission. I was there anyway. We were practicing you guys half the time, but I would have literally.
Then I'm going to send you a bill. We got to send you a bill.
I would be like, I'll buy you a drink next time I see you. But I would have been like, and Oliver too. But I would have just paid. I would have been like, all right, here we are. Camp Pendleton again. That's gonna be good practice for playing Dynasty. Hey, Oliver, Ryan, come get your $5 bills. All right, argue as much as possible today. I know you guys are gonna argue no matter if I give you these $5 or not, but I would like you to make it extra entertaining for the rest of us because the shit is hilarious. Because you guys are just cats and dogs, but that is how the sausage is made. We've discussed this constantly.
That's how the sausage is made.
We're gonna continue to discuss this because some people don't want to fight, and that's fine. But just because, and I'm not saying it has to be antagonistic. Sometimes it needs to be, but the fact that you're willing to get in a verbal battle about how you see this team running, how you see this field being played, how you see, our guys coming up, what we need out of them, all of that needs to be viciously discussed. Because if it's not, well, something's being left in your mind, and that means that there's some shit you're not talking about, and you could be leaving something that's not on the table to fix.
Now, Matty, before you go get some poor divisional kids cut from their coaches, please take that with a grain of salt.
Yes, of course.
It is. And you're right. Like it is important to hammer home your point, especially if but you have to understand when to dial it back if you're wrong. Like that's a big thing. Now, granted, like luckily for me, I'm rarely ever wrong. Like this, Matty. But
yeah, of course.
When I am, if I am in the rare events, like you have to suck it up, and you just got to be like, all right, throw in the towel. Let's do it your way.
Well, the asterisk there is that, not everyone's Oliver Lang or Ryan Greenspan, but, and you got to pick and choose the fight. Obviously, my father used to tell me all the time before I was about to do something stupid. He'd be like, look, son, discretion is the better part of valor. And if you're going to be dumb, then you need to be tough. And I'd be like, all right, thanks, Pops. But yeah, so, and but there's a difference because if you're a leader on a team, if you're like a top 3 dude on a team and you aren't vocal, then that team could have a problem because you need to, you're smart enough there. You're there for a reason. You need to be a leader. A leader needs to lead. And the leaders need to discuss things to figure out what you're going to do. But this is, again, I don't want to go too down this rabbit hole because we don't need to talk about like a little, because this is Ryan Greenspan's moment.
This isn't the
Icon
tactics
show.
Event.
This isn't, we're not talking tactics or how to
my moment is your guys' moment, man.
Yeah. But I just would like to say that, if you're, but also if you're coming up the ranks, you don't want to be a but guy, this or that. But honestly, look, Ryan, to throw it way back, I remember when you were younger, up and coming pro, and I wasn't your coach but I was the generation before you. And I remember the times that you did come in and play with us and were around us. You were never the dude that was like, well, oh, hell no, I'm not going to listen to anything you old assholes say. It's even though you're only, 3 years older than me. This is what we're going to do. You weren't that way at all. You were like, you were like, oh, you think we should do it this way? That's awesome. Okay, I think that's awesome. Maybe we could do this too. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't think you'd think of that. Okay, cool. What about this? Like you weren't the but guy, so, and because I remember that you had a practice when you came and play with us and you were kind of like a sponge. We'd like, maybe you want to play this spot. You're like, I'll play wherever you guys want me to play, and it was just, so if you're coming up the ranks, you definitely want to not be the guy that's not listening to your coach and that sort of thing. But, that was never you. And now you do need to fight your fights. But again, that's one of the reasons Icon of the Year, dude. Like the reason why you're getting this nomination is the stuff you do off the field and traveling around the world, teaching clinics, being somebody that's kind of leading the charge of and has for a long time of what a pro paintball player can be, but then also what you have done, on the field. What do you think, Quinn?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, I kind of talked to, dozens of different people at events throughout the week, throughout the year. And, a lot of people ask a lot of time, like what specifically about Ryan makes him great and makes him like an Icon of the Year level guy. And I kind of always answer the same way. I mean, over the years, Ryan has just really like every year becomes more and more refined. And, Ryan, you just have this like incredibly like intricate situational knowledge. And that just kind of, feeds into this timing that you've near perfected, where you're seemingly somehow always at the right place at the right time. You're always ready to make those big moves to close out the game. And to me, that kind of ties in. We're talking about these signature moments. When we looked at you, I think one of the big signature moments, it really carried a lot of weight because you guys come into the semifinals against Los Angeles Infamous at the World Cup. And I'm not sure if you guys knew about this when you're on the field, but this was a point now, whoever won this semifinal game is going to be the season champion. So, there's a lot of weight in this game. And not only that, whoever wins is going on to the World Cup finals. So, it's kind of doubled in that sense. And when we look at that game, man, I mean, Infamous all year was an incredible offensive team. And that game especially, man, they kind of built this relentless charge where they were punching down through the center. They were trying to, push down the snake at this really high tempo. And you really kind of started creating a lot of pressure through the center of the field. And you essentially almost, obviously the team played really well, but you really played a huge role in kind of silencing that ultra-powered offense that Infamous had. So that's why, again, when we look at a key moment for you through the season, I really felt that that was a moment you showed truly, this is why I'm the top dog in the league. I mean, what did it feel like for you guys when you came off? I mean, when did you figure out you won the season title after that?
Thanks, Quinn. Yeah, that was a really good match. And I mean, obviously, the team is always what carries the whole squad. It's very, very seldomly like it's tough to say one guy carries the whole team all the time. And hats off to Marcelo, Blake, Mikey, Yosh, and everybody who was in there. Shorty. I mean, Shorty should get the Icon of the Year at this point. We knew in the back of our minds what the match meant, and we had that was a great draw because again, like the winner of that match goes on to play in the World Cup finals and also wins the series at the same time. And that, it adds a silver lining onto that World Cup finals match, no matter the outcome. But no, we knew, and actually Yosh and I were the last two guys, I believe, and maybe Marcelo was alive too at the end when Infamous had, a couple of seconds on the clock, and I know Harrison came down the center of the field trying to charge and hit the buzzer. But right then, like Yosh came up and gave me a big hug, and that was when we knew, like, damn, we did it again. Like, can you believe it? And even funny, like we talked to Oliver that night. He's like, dude, what is going on? Like, can you believe it?
That's what I was asking you about earlier. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? No, I don't know. And Alex
and
is
it's like, wild too.
Like, how do we keep doing this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. Yeah, like, I don't know if you guys keep track of it, man. That was your 19th season title among the 4 different leagues now you guys have played. I mean, it's phenomenal to think, because I mean, just if a team had 19 just wins, that would be, impressive in itself. And you guys have 19 season titles throughout the leagues you played.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
But when you play in 15 leagues, it makes it a little easier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're playing. I got that South American league. We're counting those. We got the Australian one. Let's count that. I got that one in Antarctica. Let's count those.
Ryan,
up.
I gotta give you a little dig, but because we're just like patting you on the back, super hardcore, and rightfully so. But I was going back. We talked about this actually. So we're we got 4 Sundays, episode 2 coming up pretty soon, and we're doing interviews for a Cup right now. And we had kind of gone over this Infamous game, and as you guys were kind of talking through, I was going through these points, and yeah, dude, you were slaughtering it in that game. Finals, not as much, but again, like you said, it takes.
Yeah, let's not talk about the finals match.
We don't talk about finals match. Hey, you did you had one super crucial point in the finals that was clutch. That was the definition of clutch. It definitely was a team situation there. But you were absolutely murdering people in that Infamous game, and I totally agree with Quinn. I think that it was tough for you in the beginning. You fought through. I think it wasn't really, I wouldn't say signature move, but just kind of like signature moment, just knowing you, was the fact that you did decide to suit up and play hurt. I remember talking to you, and you're like, do you think I should play beginning of the year? And I was like, bro, I don't think so. I'm like, how do you tell me? How do you feel? And you're like, well, it really hurts bad. And I was like, well, it's not a knee. It's not like you're not going to, so you could play through it, because it's going to, obviously you're going to have limited mobility. It's going to hurt really bad, but it's not like you're going to tear the ACL more, hopefully. But then my advice to you was, I was like, I don't think you should. You have a team full of dudes. There's a reason why you carry more than 5 guys. Maybe you should just heal up and, you're not getting any younger, dude. Just give it some time. And you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. I'll probably do that. And then the next day I look down there and who's suited up? Ryan Greenspan. Who's going out to play? Ryan Greenspan. I was like, that son of a bitch. Look at this guy go. So to me, that just kind of showed your heart there. And then you had some good points out there. You guys obviously didn't do as well as you guys wanted to, but it still was impressive that you decided to suit up hurt. And then, towards the end of the year, and it was just, a team's playing really well when it is hard to figure out who the MVPs are going to be. But you did get the MVP last year. I know this is icon of the year of this year, but it still was, you've had a hell of a run, man, here for a little bit. So before we kind of let you go, we still got some more, we got some more guys we got to get to here, but
do I get to know who the rest of the guys are, or is it's all a secret?
Well, it's you got to watch the show. No,
I know who the next one is. Well, I don't even know how many. I don't even. Yeah.
Well, the first. Quinn, you tell them. Yeah, the guys are tuned in. Quinn, you tell them.
So one more thing too, Ryan, before we jump into that, I do want to touch on, you kind of mentioned about always kind of having fun with paintball and never kind of taking too serious. I always like to try to give any kind of behind the scenes stuff I can give so fans can kind of see, what goes into teams that really do succeed in this league. One thing that has always stood out to me throughout this season was I ran into you guys at your hotel in Philly because we happened to be staying at the same one. So I think it was day 2. I mean, you just came off of Dalton just got hurt. Arturo's hand is like, looks like it went through like a meat grinder, like it's destroyed. You're, still kind of dealing with some back issues. And, any other team, you would think they would be, kind of down. They're not feeling too hot. They're kind of, might be starting to get at each other. And I just think it's incredible because you guys are just sitting in the corner, having fun, making jokes, making fun of each other, making fun of me when I jump in, start talking. Like, it's incredible to see. And I think stuff like that really hits on the point you're making of like, people just got to understand too at the end of the day, man, like it's a game that we're supposed to have fun doing. And you just got to find ways to get over those kind of, the hills we do run into. And I think Dynasty always shows that so well.
Yeah, thank you. And it's like, look, like the laughter's like they say laughter is the best medicine, and smiling sometimes confuses people. You should go to Russia and try to smile. It really confuses people out there. But you can, and it's scientifically proven. If you're like, it's almost like eating chocolate. If you just kind of you put a smile on and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get through this. Like what, and rather than dwell on like, oh no, Dalton's hurt. What are we gonna do at Arturo? It's like, all right, let's solve this problem. Like we are in the business. We play paintball. Paintball's fun, right? We're in the business of solving complex equations in real time, faster than the bad guys trying to do the exact same thing. It's like 5 people playing chess at the exact same time with a massive board. It's on us to be able to problem solve. And the second that you start freaking out and worrying about what could happen or what did happen is when you start dwelling on that stuff and you forget what the objective is. Solve the problem in real time. Okay, we don't have Dalton. Dude, I really hope you get better. I hope it's not bad. Like, we're all pulling for you. You're not playing tomorrow. Let's figure out what the hell we're going to do. Who do we have to fill your spot? We got Alex. Okay, he's hurt too. We've got the guy with the screw in his hand. All right, Arturo. Like you got to problem solve in real time. And at the same time, it's like, just have fun with it, right? Just have fun with it. And and I think that people, a lot of it is also the generational gap, right? There's people that are more mentally, I guess, tough in the ability to like get through obstacles and mental obstacles and challenges in that nature. And maybe that's just something that we're good at. Maybe that's our secret. I don't know. But you'll see, I'm sure that the rest of the guys, I know the next person that's in here is, he's intense and calculated and smart, but man, he's having fun too, right? Obviously losing is not a fun part of it, but it's a building experience. And that gets you better. You got to lose a lot before you can win. You can't just go in there and be like, I'm winning. I mean, you can, but it's not sustainable.
Unless you're the Iron Kids, right?
Yeah, let's do the Iron Kids, but yeah, just win win those ones, and you know, I guess if your next event is on the line, like you don't get to play paintball unless you win, and then it puts a little bit more pressure on you.
Yeah, speaking of which, it looks like there will be an Iron Kids documentary coming out at some point. Do you know any more about that, as far as when's that dropping, or any info at all?
So all of the heavy hitters are coming out here to San Diego the first couple weeks of February to do interviews. We're going to set up we are going to set up a large studio with a bunch of props. I think we might even might source a 2000 Mustang and just kind of have things as a backdrop in sections that you can. I've got like 3 of those old JT gear bags. Quinn, you sent me that picture of that JT gear sack where I took the picture of in 1999. I've got 3 of them in my garage as props. So we're going to have this really cool interview section. And Oliver Lang will be out there. All the original Iron Kids are going to come down. And it's going to be a really cool film produced by, Hormesis and shot and produced or directed by Dan Napoli and Alex Frigi. And Oliver will be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
So you can buy him that beer or that glass of piss. Or
I will buy him that beer. Yeah, glass of piss. Sure, whatever he wants. I don't even care. Just want to see him again. Well, Ryan, thank you so much, man, for gracing us with your presence. It was fun being on your show this week, and let's go play some golf soon, dude. And when you can get a chance.
I just got a golf shirt, Matty. I got my first golf shirt. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to this $1,000 game you're playing with Marcello at some point in the time.
Probably not going to happen. Some point in time, we'll play this $1,000 game. I like to keep things friendly. I'm a competitive person. But I got a baby. I gotta buy. What happens if Slump nukes this My Little Pony? I gotta buy another one. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, but
risk
I mean,
$1,000 on that.
Marcello is also one of the Icons of the Year nominees. So it could be a little battle of the icons here. I'm just saying and you did beat him by a lot last time, so it might be a little easy $1,000 if you played it up. Regardless, Ryan, thank you.
Just put that into just remember when you're thinking about the winner. And if it's just the 2 of us, just remember that golf score. That's all I'm saying. If that edges
you're
me
better
over
at golf as it stands right now. Yes. As it stands right now.
I'll
break that on Iconic tonight. Marcello sucks at golf. Breaking story.
Great. Breaking
Says
story.
Ryan Greenspan. See, hey, this is how we're gonna get that $1,000 game. That's what I'm talking about. No, I didn't say that at all. Anyway, it's the story for another time. Regardless, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. The shows are all about tangents. Appreciate everything you're doing, man. Obviously, things look really good for you guys. Well, there he goes. But yeah, dude, Ryan, things do look really good. Oh, he's still there. Peace. But yeah, check out the Spick and Span show.
Everything.
Hey, it's all good, Ryan. Take care. Spick and Span show. I was just on their last. Oh, he's back.
He's back.
So wait, he's back. So Ryan, when is the Spick and Span show? Oh, see, look, we're dropping the little hint.
Tuesdays, every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Kyle and I host an incredible, fun, unscripted live show. Come in, check it out. Quinn's been on there. Matty's been on there. We've had a lot of guys. The next guest has been on there. You guys saw his name down there. So we have a lot of people. Very similar. It's just a live, fun show, So tune in for YouTube. 4 p.m. live on Tuesdays. And guys, both of you, thank you very much. And congratulations to everybody who is nominated and best of luck. I know 3 of the guys now that have been nominated other than myself. So this is a really, really, really stacked roster. So maybe we'll get
it's Icon of the Year, dude. It's going to be as stacked as it gets, just especially how all these dudes played this year. Jesus Christ. It would be a great little mini tournament. Again, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I will see you soon, as we obviously both live in the same city, but keep doing what you're doing, brother. Dynasty's process has a good chance of crushing it again in 2022. All right, so let's jump in here. We're going to bring our next guest in. But Quinn, before we kind of get the next guest on, I'm just happy that this dude drove back from the mountains to grace us with his presence, because I didn't know if we were actually going to be able to get this dude. And then the 5th guy, he's in the wind. He's very hard to get to do interviews.
He may or may not even exist. We don't know.
He's just a myth. He only appears as a ghost to play paintball and then pieces out. So talk to me about our next guy here, nominee number 4.
Yeah, man. So our next guy on the board, I feel, to me, he doesn't get talked about enough for how just absolutely incredibly talented he is. I think when you look at a team like San Antonio X Factor, I truly look at Dimitri Ninos as the glue of that team. I mean, this is a guy who's typically tasked with shutting down the best player on the opposing team from the back line, and they really depend on him to just kind of read the field, react, and make those decisions that close out the games. And he's normally really a big reason that they kind of rally through to Sunday. He's really good at closing out those close games, as I mentioned. And then, off the break, he's arguably one of the best break shooters in the league in 2021. So we're super excited to have Demetrius Ninios as one of our Icon of the Year nominees for 2021.
There's honestly nothing that Meter. So yes, Dimitri Ninos is our next nominee here for Icon of the Year. Everyone calls him Meter. We'd like to welcome him to the show. And yeah, man, talk about people that have just continued to get better. Everyone here on this list has their own type of story going on, but Jesus Christ, Meter has been so good for San Antonio X Factor here these past couple of seasons. Quinn was so welcome Meter to the show. Quinn was just talking about how you're kind of the glue. And I totally agree because, I obviously watch a lot of paintball, man, and going back and watching all these games on Sundays, to create the content that we create and to these, the stories and doing 4 Sundays. It's like I watch all these different games and I have to pause it sometimes watching the same point 10 times in a row because it's really hard to see who shoots who. But one of the things for the past 3 years that it's just become blatantly apparent is how really goddamn good you've gotten at this game. I mean, you were a prodigy to start out with. And everyone's like, oh, this dude coming out of Texas is going to be really good at Dimitri Ninos. And I'm like, okay, cool. I haven't seen him yet. And then I remember you came, we had that awesome talk when I was living with Ryan, and I was like, oh, this dude, young guy, he's got his head screwed on straight, really smart guy. And then you went to a ton of teams, like almost every pro team out there. And then you came back to X Factor. Yeah. And ever since then, and then moving into this, like this 2 role, holy shit, bro. It has just been just better. I mean, you just are, we always say like aging like a fine wine. I don't even know if that's the case. It's because there's, wine is not explosive and you've been very explosive.
I mean, dude, as the young kids say, man,
not explosive.
Leaders to
this
the
is
moon,
no
man.
hyperbole. This is no hyperbole, bro. Like this is the real deal. If you just got here and you're welcome to paintball, but Jesus Christ, Meter, you've been really, really good in a lot of different situations in a very treacherous role on a team that is almost always in the deep water. 3 finals appearances for you guys out of the past 5 events. Unfortunately, you haven't won one of those, but when we look at, I mean, but anyway, let's just jump into this. First of all, how you doing? Looks like you're at some badass like camping lodge right now with some deer in the back. It's looking great.
Is that Bob's Longhouse?
We're having a great time. House. Yeah, it looks like it. This is my uncle's house, and pretty much every January I come out here, and whether there's hunting to be had or mountains to go down, I usually spend my Januaries out here, and everything's been great. This off season's been pretty exciting. Love what's happened with our team, and it seems like everybody else is balancing out some exciting mergers and stuff. So looks like 2022 will be a great year to be in paintball.
Yeah. Quinn, you
talking about stuff.
You go first.
Oh yeah. I'll say, man, talking about stuff happening this offseason, you guys are making some moves, man. You solidified Tom Guest to kind of a longer-term deal to kind of finally give him a little bit more of a permanent home. And then bringing on LJ, man, that's a big signing. I mean, you have to be excited as kind of a guy that plays that 2 role to have a guy as versatile in the attack position as LJ, I bet.
For sure. No, that was both points in Rainey, all solidifying these guys and getting LJ. It's what we wanted to happen. And selfishly, it's what I wanted to happen. And I'm super excited that we got the guys we wanted. In paintball, it's super hard to always get the roster that you want because sometimes there's contracts and, personal relationships. There's things that you can't make happen. All the things that we wanted to make happen, we set out and did. And that's a W. And it's hard to get W's in the offseason, almost harder than it is in the season.
Well, yeah. And honestly, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room is that you guys took an L to start out with in the offseason and then got some W's. But just as we talked about, so one of the other nominees for Icon of the Year. Well, so we had 2 Dynasty guys. So we had Marcello and we have Ryan, and then we also had Tyler Harmon. And one of the fascinating stories of the past year was the fact that Tyler, so Dynasty goes and takes a 10th, and Heat takes an 11th at the first event. And then Tyler leaves and he goes, and then Heat wins the next event. And Dynasty makes it pretty far with the injured roster, and then Dynasty gets knocked out by Heat. But then Dynasty continues to go on after losing, not even arguably one of their best players. I mean, he's definitely 100% one of their best players. I mean, Tyler Harmon is a fierce beast, and he's one of the best players in the league. So, but that loss it made him better, because look what happened. So when I heard about that, and I talked to Alex actually, and he told me to keep it secret, which I did, but at World Cup, and he was like, hey, I don't know if Archie's going to be playing with our team next year, and he may retire, he may go somewhere else. I don't know. We're still talking about it. Maybe he'll stay. I don't know. He's like, but that's between you and me. I was like, no problem. Not everything's for public consumption, but and then when he left, it's like I thought, okay, that's really good for Archie, because he needs this as motivation to continue his journey in this game. And then I think this could be really good for X Factor, though, because if you look at what just happened with San Diego Dynasty and what could and who's on your roster, and now with get how good Tom has gotten, and then obviously with how good you are, and your name was on the tip of my mind while I was thinking about flowers that could continue to blossom and be magnificent in that situation. Because again, you've already been good, but you just keep getting your game gets more and more refined. So I think the question I have a couple questions for you, but one of them is, how are you looking at this year? Again, with the loss of Archie and picking up these new dudes, and the fact that X Factor is in a bit of a transition period right now. The sport's in a bit of a transition. We're seeing guys retire, teams changing, and now people becoming institutions on teams. You are now kind of an institution on X Factor. And just, but you spent your early part of your career kind of going everywhere, learning a lot, and, being in the wind. And then now you've been that rock for a while. So you have a fascinating paintball story, and I really can't wait to see what happens with your team. So I got to ask you, what is the vibe like in your head, knowing all these things heading into this season?
There's a lot there, and there's a bunch of good things to pick on out of all of it. We'll start with the Archie thing, just because I don't think any of our guys, I don't think it's been addressed well enough. But it's super similar to a Tyler situation, only the opposite, where, Tyler is a great player, but he wasn't playing as great, or maybe it wasn't seen as great in the audience of his teammates. You just have a bunch of performers there, and it's easy not to be, the starter or the name on a team like Dynasty. And then him transition to Heat, he just gets a new lease on life for the game. And we saw that with Archie. I mean, all last year and maybe the year before, he was just kind of going through it in a motivational way. And that can hurt a lot of things. That can hurt the team. That can hurt relationships. So it's awesome that he decided to keep playing, found a home on Dynasty, and, hope the best for that guy. What it means for our team is a lot of people get to step up. We get to just be a different team. We get to find our identity, and I'm really excited with that in that journey with the people that we have on our team. I like all of our guys a lot. In fact, I hang out with a lot of them and talk to them almost every day, and that's an exciting culture to have on a team this late into the game. And what else we got? So we talked about them. And I'm excited.
How fired up is Billy for 2022?
Oh, he's jacked. He's jacked because he may not have to run the snake every single point, but he's still going to run 90% of the time. So you got to motivate him in different ways. And that was one win with an LJ guy.
Yeah. It is the pickups that you made are Tom Guess is incredibly underrated. I think that he comes highly touted from the people that have played a lot of paintball with him. We saw it with the points that he did play at Cup and the points he had played for Aftermath before. There's a lot of potential there. It's just interesting because that's always the story, is like, we know what your potential is. What are you going to bring us and bring your team once we get to the ultimate moments, right? But that's where I feel that you've earned this Icon of the Year nominee. Another reason is that, off the field, it's also part of this nomination as well, too. You're doing the Astra, starting a clothing company, all the stuff that you love behind the scenes. You're bringing that into paintball, doing the event, coming out with some cool content. That's part of it as well, too. We need that sort of, organic, creative, evolutionary type sparks that exist in the minds of some of our, brightest stars, so that it just all pushes everybody collectively forward, the more of that type of stuff that exists. But, that was it's like you just started that and you had one event. But I feel when I saw this list and Quinn was like, do you have any objections to this list? I was like, I don't. I mean, there's a few other guys we could potentially argue about here or there. But to me, just because you have been so consistent and such a threat, like if I'm playing against, like, you very rarely die early. You are a great off the break shot. Your timing has evolved, and I'm sorry to just, throw accolades and praise on you right now, but that's kind of the whole point of this goddamn show.
Hey, I don't get that often. I love it.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I watch a lot of paintball, man, and now going to Create Force Sundays and rewatching a lot and sometimes watching the same point 10, 15 times in a row, like restarting it like shit. Who got that shot? Because, we try to do our best job, but paintball is crazy. It's very eclectic. It's all this stuff's happening. 5 guys are shooting each other, all these different angles, and it's all happening in real time. So, we're all watching it. Sometimes I'm blocked out. So like I'm watching, Rich is watching, or we'll have another people. We have camera guys, and then, and it's still, sometimes it's hard to figure out who shot who, That's why when we do have stats, It's confirmed kills, not actual kills. But I'll go back and rewatch it, and then finally I'll figure out like, oh, okay, that was the only gun that way. It must have been this guy by process of elimination. But anyway, the point is that after watching all the paintball that I've seen live for 25 years, but then going back and rewatching all this stuff, like, bro, you're getting really, really good, really refined, small, subtle things I'm seeing out of you. Also, emotional leadership. I'll get clips of, when we're doing promo vids, and I'll get the in the scene, in the pit stuff, and I'll be like, oh wow, that was a good speech by Meter. So you're starting to get to the point where it's like so few mistakes, and you're feeling really comfortable. You're playing offensive minded, defensive when you need to in scrambles. It's just, bro, it's getting really impressive. So keep doing what you're doing. And I fully agree with Quinn giving you this nomination. Yeah, for sure. So I just got to ask, so the question is like, how are you looking at the game right now? Like having you, again, all the different teams that you played on, and having to deal with all those different coaches, all those different captains, all those different older dudes giving you all their input, you having your own version of that, kind of getting a little moniker of like, oh, this dude's hard to coach. Which I think a lot of smart, cocky younger guys get that a little bit, but then but I haven't heard that in years, bro. Like Ryan has not ever been like, oh, Meter's a problem, bro. Or Alex has been, again, I'm being dead serious.
Yeah.
Never one time have I been like, bro, it's becoming a problem. Meter, dude, it just argues all the time. Like it hasn't happened yet. So the fact that you're slotting in as a leader, as somebody that is getting almost playing every single point for a team, again, that's been in the finals 3 times of 5, things are going well. So how are you looking at the game right
now? Just trying to have fun out there. It's a cliche thing to say, but, my game definitely thrives when I'm able to go out there and do whatever it is I want to go do, because I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm always trying to do the right thing. And the people, as funny as that may seem, a lot of people aren't out there doing that. People are trying to play for themselves, or trying to make ego decisions, or they're just, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're just totally off on your timing. I'm just out there analyzing the game, trying to make the right decisions with whatever variations that we have on our side versus their side. I take a lot of pride in trying to get my teammates in the game, because that way it's more fun. And when things are fun, this is my meter. When things are fun, we're good. And whatever the result is, that's just what it is, because that's life. But I can turn the ship around when the wind's not there, or vice versa. So that's really my main thing. I'm not doing anything ridiculous in my training. I work out, do all the same stuff, but I see a lot more people work out harder than I do physically. So it's really about just being a guy you want to play next to, and the quote from Alex Frazier, be a guy you want to room with. So that's all that we're all trying to incorporate on X Factor this year. And the rest is whatever falls into place. You know, you do all the work at home, you do all the work with your teammates the 2 weekends before. However the tournament goes is how it goes. And our only metric is to enjoy our time and have fun. And that's been the biggest game changer for me the past 4-ish years. You know, having a relationship with Ryan that I do, you know, we're great friends. And at the end of the day, we respect each other. So there is no, not like there ever was with any of my previous coaches of bantering and whatnot. It's just, I know he's going out there to do the best he can for our team, and I'm reciprocating. So that's where you want to be. You don't want the show. You don't want, you know, the fake relationships. You want the real nitty gritty and hopefully fun.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Quinn, do you have like a? Yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I was going to kind of jump in mentioning that was as we've kind of been doing with the other guys, we kind of look at signature moments for each player of kind of, you know, throughout the season, this was the big moment that we felt really kind of showed like, this is why this guy is one of our nominees. And kind of a small one to me away from what I would consider like a signature thing with you is I noticed when I was watching at Chicago, I mean, you guys had a match where it was, you know, it wasn't going great. It was a close game back and forth. And again, typically guys are coming off the field. They're trying to get ready as quick as they can. And I just thought it was interesting because you come off the field as calm as can be, and you just start having a conversation with your coach, pointing out the stuff you saw in the field, how you guys can kind of approach it and go after it. And I thought that really kind of showed that kind of quiet leadership you have within the X Factor organization in a way, because not only are you always trying to do your best on the field to kind of put your teammates in the right spot, you're kind of strategizing in a way off the field to help make sure everything's kind of going as it does with that super analytical mind you have. But kind of how that ties into the signature moment. Obviously, at World Cup, you guys have a chance to go to the finals on the line up against Heat. And you guys kind of quickly found yourself at the beginning kind of falling behind. You guys were down 3-5 with just 4 minutes left in the game. Yeah. And, you know, Chad George was having a phenomenal event for Heat. I mean, he was feasting in the snake all event long. And I kind of noticed about halfway through that match when you guys started to go down, you suddenly kind of switched to throwing those first few shots over to the snake side, going up to that wing before you were pulling your gun back inside and kind of shutting off the Doritos. And I noticed all of a sudden Chad kind of starts, you know, he got nicked early a game or two, and then he's, you know, kind of started to quiet his game down. And to me, that's why I really looked at you. As I looked at that as the signature moment to me, because I mean, again, you guys are facing a 2-point deficit with not much time left against a team that can arguably grind any team in the game off the field. And not only did you kind of eliminate Chad, you pretty much locked off Fedorov and Mishkov. You know, pretty much instantly, you shut the D side of the field off, and you guys grinded your way back to earn another trip to the finals. What was the thought process like on the team where you kind of made that decision, like, we got to get Chad off the field if we're going to win this game?
Oh, man. Well, when you're playing Heat, you got to find which guy needs to go, and they all do, unfortunately. But on a layout like that and the way I like to shoot, I actually know I can hit anything with my first 3 balls. If the timing's there, it is 100% doable, and it won't affect another lane. So in a situation like that, I have a small gap. There's a really good shot on the, you know, right off the gate to shoot Chad. I would do that shot and just continue with my thing, you know, with whatever the game plan was. And you would see sometimes a guy come out, and this is just something I recognize in practice. We practice Heat as well. So it kind of helped me a little bit. Not that I premeditate it at all. It's just the timing of players and timing of, you know, where people want to go. That's the parameters you're always working in. So I just started throwing some balls that way. And of course we had another shooter, I'm sure. And I'll take an assist any day of the week. But if someone can feel threatened or see my guns coming that way, that's always a good thing. And the second to this trick is you can't fail the main objective, which is lock down the Dorito side.
Yeah, so sure, and that's so I think that there's a lot of things that are teachable in this sport, and there's a lot of things that are not teachable. There are certain levels to to the mental tenacity and the poise that exists in that mental framework that some players bring. This is why some players do emerge on field organically as leaders. You know, they're leading by example. So because they play so consistent, they bring a certain emotional courage to it. And I do think that that emotional courage is what you would kind of define as poise, you know, because, you know, there's an emotional courage where people get lawless and crazy, but that refined, directed emotional courage where, like, I'm being authentic with you. We're having this discussion, we're in the moment, but you believe me and I believe you when we're vibing, to use, you know, the words that the kids say these days. But I just kind of wanted to kind of talk. Yeah, the hype word, dude. You know, it's like it's a vibe. But I think that, you know, to use an older word, poise, I think it is interesting because certain players and then collectively teams will be the beneficiaries of their players' poise. And so the fact that over time you've been able to evolve a certain level of that refined poise, which is just, again, a mental, an emotional courage that you have to bring to the moment, along with the you know, refining certain elements of the cataclysm that's happening to bring us all to this one view. This is what we need you to do. You've been able to do that, you know. So where did that come from? You know, I think, again, that's when I looked at this list and I look at how you're playing, I think that you're kind of, I know, again, it's kind of like, again, there's things that are teachable and things that aren't. But when things aren't really teachable and people can, you know, it's like you can't teach speed, you can't teach mental tenacity. You can, but this is when I was going to bring this up with Quinn, I was going to bring this up with Ryan, but it's like with the gift of the game, you know, I always talk about the gifts of the game, and paintball is fascinating because it's so visceral, so right in your face, and it forces you into the flow state, right? You're either ready for it or you're not. But when you're in that moment, it makes, you know, people that are super egotistical, it makes them more humble. But if you're willing to stay locked in, right? And then it will bring up people that don't have like the ability to harness the power of their ego. It will give them some of that power if they stay in it, because if not, then you're going to get murdered out there, you know? So it brings people from the bottom up, and it will also humble you in a lot of ways too, because it's so hard and only one team per division wins. So you're losing a lot more than you're winning. So that would just kind of ask you, as far as that poise, like, where does that come from? That's one of the reasons you're nominated for this. I know, again, not teachable, but if we could talk a little bit about that, I think that might, you know, that's what people are watching. They want to hear that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the stuff that drew us all into this game originally, is all the, you know, the speeches and the heroics of these guys, and you know, looked like heroics to us through media. I mean, you lived it, Matty, but Quinn and I, we watched it, so to us it was quite the show. But
we're living it now, brother.
For me, it starts,
now I'm watching.
Yeah, true. But for me, it started way back then. You know, I've been passionate about this game and passionate about you know, I mean, this is such an honor in its own right. You know, 11-year-old me would be crying at this opportunity just to be talking to you guys, and let alone the award or, you know, whatever we're talking about. It's what I'm about. I've done this I'm 28 now. I've been doing it since I was 9. I've been playing competitively since I was 12, and I've consumed everything. You know, I've
it shows.
I've lost.
I've
won. I've been through it all.
There's the poise, bro.
And
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Give us the lessons.
I still show up.
What's the secret of the win?
Yeah. Damn, the secret of the win, that's a tough one, because it's always evolving. You know, when I was winning, I could tell you, but right now the recipe for when I was winning isn't working. So I'm trying to figure it out myself. But you know, but it's all the stuff in between. You know, these tournaments, they're moments in time, and or chapters, and you grow so much with each one that happens. If you choose to look at it that way, or you can look at it as a waste of time and blow 5 years of your life and 6 figures of cash and lose your girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't do that and you stick to like the goodness of it, the authenticity of what this game offers us, it comes naturally, because I genuinely want my teammates to smile. I want them to be happy. I want them to win. I want them to feel fulfilled with the sacrifice, win, lose, or draw. Because that's what I want. Of course I want to fucking win. That's the easiest thing to say. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest moniker to uphold by, that I'm this champion and whatnot. But the reality is, I want to win with my friends. I want to have fun with my friends. I want to enjoy every ounce of this as I got it. And, you know, I think with being as honest with yourself and genuine with yourself, it should rub off on your teammates. And it should rub off on the right people. And if the people it doesn't rub off on, then they're the wrong people. And those people got to go. So you got to have the right people to make this all worthwhile. And that's my poise. I mean, I could go off of 100 other life lessons, and, you know, maybe we should put that behind a paywall. But it's just about loving it, even the times you don't.
Yeah, well, I'll bring this quote up to you because I think you'd appreciate it a lot too. Probably even more so than Ryan, but just because you guys have had different trajectories. Like, I feel like you know, I'm not saying Ryan didn't have to work for what he had, but Ryan found success very early on. You know, I mean, it was, I mean, you know, they were teenagers, and it was just immediately catapulted into a massive amount of accolades and success. Now, obviously, you were highly touted when you were younger, but it took you a lot of miles on your, you know, on the planes and the cars and on your body and on all the different things, you know, because, you know, like I said, I heard about you before I met you because you were kind of starting to make your way around the paintball world. And I know everybody. So they were like, yeah, dude, you know, when I start talking to people, they're like, yeah, young kid meter, you know, who the fuck is that? They're like, oh, Dimitri Ninos. You know, he's playing for, I can't remember who the hell you were playing it for at the time, but, and then, you know, and then the next year you ended up staying in our house. I met you, but I know the road you've been on, and it hasn't been the easiest road. You know, I mean, you definitely had to try to, yeah, not at all. Now, yeah, it was made easier by the fact that you're really good at this. So yeah, hey, if you're out there, kids, and you're really talented, of course, things are going to be easier for you in one respect, but all that really does is kind of make things also infinitely harder in another respect, because any door that opens and you go in and you take that decision to make that quest your reality, well, then what happens? Now you have all these other opportunities, and it's just taking bigger bites and taking bigger bites, and it gets harder and it gets harder and it gets harder. And you didn't exactly like immediately, you know, you're not on Dynasty winning, you know, like Quinn said, you know, 500,000 different tournaments all over the year or over the world, and all these different series titles. Like, you really had to grind.
Not at all.
And I know everyone, yeah, you had to grind, right? So this is the quote. And this is years ago, but, and I didn't think that that of all people that one of the Diaz brothers would be Socrates, the philosopher, bringing in some amazing, you know, knowledge for us to glean from, right? But I was watching this promo, and you know, and it was in typical Diaz fashion where it took me a second. I was like, wow, did he just throw down some like Play-Doh shit? That was amazing. But what he said was, he said, you know, again, I'm a paraphrase, but he was kind of, but I think you'd appreciate this. He's, you know, they're asking basically like, what does it take to be, you know, great at this? Like, you know, to find greatness in mixed martial arts, like, what does it take? And he like thought for a second. He's like, you know, you need to work so hard at this that you hate it. But in that torture, in that hate, if you can find the love for it, then if you really give yourself to it, then you can find the greatness. And I was like, all right, Meter will appreciate that, because, you know, like, I know you've hated this a little bit, dude. I know you've hated the game a little bit. We've had this discussion, you know, but then in that hate, sometimes you find the love, and you're like, oh, okay, that's why I do this. So what do you think about that?
For sure. Oh man, I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I don't even know what I sound like anymore, but I had somebody visit me out here, and they were telling me, you know, you've changed a lot. You've you know, you like everything. Because I used to, when I was growing up, I'd be like, nah, I don't like this. Even if it was something I liked, someone would come up to you, put you on the game, you're like, nah, I don't like that. Just an idiot. And but now I love everything. I love the pain. I love, you know, the upset. I love the heartbreak. Not much gets me out of my my little rhythm. And with paintball, we all have an attachment to it that's unhealthy. You know, it's just a thing. But with all unhealthy things, there's the highest highs, the lowest lows, and then, you know, you come back to earth and you figure out what the fuck, you know, what am I going to do with this? And that it's everywhere. It's from just the playing it, the teammates that you will have, the flights that you'll miss, whatever it is. There's something to love and hate pretty much in any weekend of paintball. And so you absolutely have to find the beauty in it and find that drive to wake up and, put the pads on and take the pads off and shoot the pie plates and do the drills that Marcello and Ryan are charging you guys to do and get better. It's all part of it. But the quote's great. The quote should be brought to everything, and people should approach relationships and jobs and everything with that type of, sentiment, because it's special. And I think the most special part about it all, to continue my rant, is that it's limited. Your time to love something, your time to dislike something is very limited, and it becomes a memory sooner than, your anticipation of it happening. So, you got to appreciate all of it. And that's all we got in this life.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. No matter who you are, or time comes for us all. Trust me. My knees cracking once I stand up after sitting in this chair for 2 hours will be a testament to that. And then when my mother-in-law's at the house and she's like, "Are those your ankles?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's no big deal. It doesn't hurt that bad." Yes, time comes for us all. So enjoy it while you can. Because you can't do this forever. And, I've officiated a bunch of weddings in my day. And one of the lines in my ceremony is that, if it's true that your life flashes before your eyes before you die, then the last story that you're ever going to hear or see is your story. So you better make it a good one. And spiraling into the abyss, the last thing that's probably on your mind is that, man, I really wish I put more money in my 401k. That's not going to be your last dying thought, most likely, unless you got 15 kids and
I would hope
they're going to
not.
starve. But yeah, I would hope not, it's again, if it's true that when you die, your life flashes before your eyes, your story that's it. That's the last story that you ever get to hear or see. So you better make it a good one. Yeah. And I think that's one of the blessings of this game.
You gotta have the right people. You have the right people that you get to bash your sword against, or love, or to be heartbroken over. These things are all major. I think a lot of people get so caught up in the first part of that being your story, when it's far from that. It is the story. Is everyone's involved in it, and the more that we pay attention to the people in our lives, especially in this time that we live in, and I'm saying this solo dolo, isolated in Idaho, mountain land, but you got to enjoy the people. You have to love the people, and that's what makes this all worth it at the end of the day. Random tidbit again, but my teammate Rainey, one of my best friends, he's got some issues he's trying to work out physically, and that's another chip I'm going to bring into 2022 is you just don't know when you're going to be playing. When is your last game of paintball going to be played, your last season, your last tournament, last whatever. So it's super important to get after it. And a part of what I was saying with Rainey is, it was a big deal to him on who we picked up this offseason and the players that we had on our roster for him to return. And I take that to heart, that I'm one of those people, and that, he's one of those people to me that makes me enjoy what we do. And it just came to mind, so I have to spur it out. So I apologize, but Rainey and the rest of my team, they're definitely worth it. And I'm stoked to have them in this chapter of my life.
Rainey I just talked to Rainey actually at length not too long ago, still dealing with his back issue. So we don't know when we're going to see him back. But, and honestly, and then going through these points, kind of rewatching Greg Sewers' last point, and dude, Greg played his ass off this year, man. He was going off for Infamous, and Infamous was incredibly consistent, but his last point, he trying to make something happen in a loss, and he just, has to overextend because he has no other choice, and he gets eaten up, and that's it. That's his last point he's ever going to play, according to Greg. Maybe he'll be back. Everyone's like, Greg will be back. Greg will be back.
Yeah.
Greg, to me, he's like, I'm not going to be back. That's it. I left it all out there. I did everything I possibly could. I played this game as hard as anyone else has played it for
I like that answer
over a
more.
decade. Yeah, but yeah, I'm just saying. It's just but I agree with you. You never know never know when it's done. So
yeah,
for sure.
Greg, you're always welcome, but I admire the solidarity.
Hey, Greg, it looks like you got a spot on X Factor anytime you want it, bro. At least for the next couple
Greg,
seasons.
come be my teammate
You're
again,
not getting
buddy.
fat. He's not going to get fat, that's for sure. Well, Meter, before we let you go, before we sign off, is we have one more who's not going to be joining us. We've had every other nominee join us, but surprise, the dude who hates interviews has decided, but even though he's really good every time we sit him in the seat, has decided to either he could not do it for whatever reason. Anyways, not here. So Quinn, would you please announce our last nominee and we could have Meter sit in for us discussing him for the next 10 minutes or so? What do you think, Meter? You down for that?
Let's do it. Oh, hell yeah. I'll pour up another one.
Yeah, go for it, dude.
So, yeah, man. As you said, this guy's hard to get in front of a camera and do interviews. But part of that kind of feeds into why he's so great, man. He just is, he grinds all the time, and he's always committing all his time to being great. But our final nominee for the Icon of the Year is going to be Alex Goldman from Edmonton Impact. When you look at a guy like Alex, I mean, right away, he's been at the forefront of what it is to be an elite athlete in the NXL. And he was kind of one of the prototypical players that kind of pushed out this idea of, hey, you could be really good at shooting a gun, and you could also be really athletic at it too, and, kind of build your body around that. And, this was a guy in a season for Impact that was kind of up and down after that opening event win. I felt he really kind of grinded and held that team together throughout the year. And he was really a strong point of emphasis for them throughout the season. Meter, while we're talking about him, what's it like playing against him? Because obviously you play the 2 a lot on the snake side. How is it playing against a guy with that scary kind of speed?
One, I'm a big fan of Mouse. Always have been. I had the pleasure of playing alongside him on Infamous, and growing up, he was always the guy I modeled my play style after and mentality after, work ethic after. So I'm definitely familiar with the Alex Goldman. Playing against him, it's like one of those deflating, not so great answers because I play everybody the same way. I know Mouse wants to get to a spot. He doesn't want to gunfight me, so I'll just keep ripping him. But he's talented enough to find positions and holes in the game. When a guy like me has to look away, he repositions and he makes a fool out of me. That's also happened. So a guy like Mouse, he's great. When he's on fire and he's motivated to be there, which is most often, he's definitely a fear on the field. You don't want him to get to where he wants to get on the break. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings into 2022 on how he wants to play. Is Impact going to have a guy play in front of him more often? Are they going to be using him as the weapon all the time? What is the thought process here? How do you keep a guy like that? We're all getting older, so how do you keep a guy like that motivated to play to the top of his level? And these are things all teams are challenged with this coming year.
Yeah, and kind of building on that, so obviously you mentioned he's always a focus with getting off the break, and that kind of leads into our signature moment for Alex Goldman throughout the 2021 season. We look at the Sunshine State Major, the first event that they ended up winning. So I would like to hear 2 Meter from you as a guy who played on that field, at the pro level and played on it well. That corner was incredibly difficult to make consistently throughout the weekend. And I feel a big reason Impact won is because they were able to get Alex out there and he was able to just really
100%.
kind of dissect, diagnose. Can you explain a little bit for kind of the people watching, like what made it so hard to make that spot?
There was a lot of open lanes. So fields are always different, but on most fields you have like 2 shots on the corner. One's easy and one's like, may hit it. On that particular layout, if I remember correctly, it was just a hard shot to hit. You had to be in the open. And now that we're talking about it, I do remember being in the open, and I'm very confident in what I can hit. Shooting shots at Mouse, and just the way it was all positioned, it was an awkward shot to hit. And we had the conversation on X Factor that the snake corner is important, and we kind of overlooked it. And it definitely, it showed. It sucks when you look at tournaments and you go, if we got here, we win. And Mouse was the only guy that whole event to really execute that. We've seen that before from Mouse. I forgot the event and the year, but there was a mini W at some point that he just nobody played, and he played it masterfully. And most people would fight to get to the 50. He would just stay in the snake 2 and own people everywhere. So Mouse is a guy who will find the most with the least opportunity. And that snake corner is exactly what it was. And he definitely was the reason why they were able to win that tournament. And that's what's important, though. And that's what's cool about a player like Alex Goldman. He is capable of making the least productive bunker the most productive. And that is a very, very hard thing to find out of any players.
So a lot of the guys here, Meter, that were involved in this, you had to be elite of elite on the field in order to get this nomination. Now, obviously, we had Marcello, who won the MVP, co-MVP with Blake. But Marcello had such a crazy year because he was playing the kind of position you play, but on a different side of the field. He can go wherever, but he's playing like a 2 or 3, transitions into a 1, kind of like you, similar situation. But you don't need to do that yet. But Dalton died, and you came up playing the 1. He came up playing the 1. He transitions into the 1, wins the MVP. He's got the Play the Game podcast. We're like, dude, this is icon level type stuff, and he was playing a very difficult position all year long. Then you have Tyler Harmon, right? Tyler Harmon leaves Dynasty, helps Houston Heat immediately win. I mean, he was up in the running. Also, Fedorov ended up winning the MVP, but Tyler was right there too. I mean, he was, a kill here or there or a situation here or there from winning that MVP. And then he continues to play every single point for Houston Heat. Also, Marcelo's partner on the Play the Game podcast. Then we got Ryan Greenspan. I mean, that dude's a legend, and him and Spicker are doing it, and he owns Field 1. I mean, it's Ryan Greenspan. No one's going to argue Ryan Greenspan being in an Icon of the Year conversation. And then we get you in here, and I feel like you earned it because obviously I really truly feel that I know people are like, oh, Meter's underrated. I'm just like, are you not watching this? Like, how are you? If you not watched any of X Factor's games, how is he still underrated? Like he almost never dies. He's shooting dudes on the break. He's winning these low body situations. Like, what the fuck are you guys watching? He's not underrated. He shouldn't be underrated. Seriously, watch the games.
It's hard to see what I do. I do a bunch of blind snipes, and
dude, you can see it though. It's there. If you know what you're watching, it's there.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then with the Astro stuff. So I'm like, okay, yeah, Meter. But and the Mouse and Spica also started the Tiger Wear thing, but that just started. But to me, more than you and Mouse, to me, again, I'm not taking any, and this is a nod to you guys, but it's just every one of these 5 guys has been obviously elite of elite, the best that we got out there. But Mouse is like almost the he's the archetype, right? He's become kind of like the archetype for what a snake player is supposed to be. The New York Extreme guys have a nickname for Malloy, for Alexander Burtnikov, who's won, the Golden Gun, best player of the year. And they call him the Bar. He's won everything. He's one of the greatest ever. But they call him the Bar, right? And I just think that that's a really awesome nickname for your enemies to give you, right? Like you're fighting against this dude and you call him the Bar. That's how good he is at it. And Alex Goldman has kind of become the bar for the snake side. Everyone always talks about Alex, and rightfully so. And you saw the versatility and him winning an MVP. He was a bowling ball type player, that wrecking ball type guy for so long. But he, just like yourself and just like some of these best players out here, have evolved their games to become more disciplined, more versatile, and ultimately a much bigger weapons for their squads. Like a bigger threat and worth the money that they're getting paid. So, and which I always love, because it's good that people get paid to play this game. So it's just one of those things where when we give the nod to Alex, it's, he's starting a company off the field, but because he is kind of the bar on the snake side, I feel like he deserves this nod. And he did win an MVP here, and he was getting the lion's share of the spins and doing the lion's share of the killing for the best team heading into Cup before Dynasty really stepped up, and took the overall series title.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
I mean, these guys, I love many thoughts, but, these 5 guys, I'm honored to be in that list. All these guys, they all won tournaments. I'm the one guy on this. I'm the lonely man on the list who didn't win a tournament. And so Alex Bowman, 100% has a place here. History alone, that is verified, and everybody else, I mean, they all had great years. Myself, I definitely pride myself in what I bring to the game and what I'm trying to just authentic self, and I'm happy that it's been, the transition's good and the view is good. All the optics on it are good, but I still didn't win a tournament. So I got some work to do, but all these other guys, they absolutely have earned and they're cemented in time for this award, but even before this award was a thing. So thank you guys for making it a thing. But no, these guys they're elites, and they pride themselves with that, and they work harder than most. We all work really hard, but these guys have been working harder for 15 years. So these names are great. I wouldn't argue with any of them. And Alex Goldman and snake players alike. I mean, Billy is a phenomenal snake player. Chad George is a phenomenal snake player. But what Mouse and these other guys may have implemented first is, instead of the randomness, the controlled attack and decision that may have been perceived early on as, playing conservative, into actually being super valuable. Mouse is alive towards the end of the point more often than any other snake player. And it's not because he's that good. It's because he takes less risks, and he's taking, calculated risks when he does. And it's not to say it's bad on anybody else. It's just that's a different type of excellence that you're striving for and you're working at. And that's all the love I got from Mouse. So enough. Everybody else, love them. They're all doing great.
Yeah, no, it's just it's cool to see, man. What a great list. I can't wait to see who ends up taking this. But yeah, it's you got Marcello Margott, Tyler Harmon, Ryan Greenspan, Dimitri, aka Meter Ninos, and then Alex Goldman. Before we sign off, before I get your last thoughts, I just want to throw this out there because everyone knows I love to read books, but it's how knowledge has come down to us at Meter. I know Quinn, you'll probably appreciate this too, but how does like a Bible get to us? How does like philosophy from the ancient Greeks from 2,000 years ago, how does that get to us? There's a longer story there, but essentially there was this big transition in the Middle Ages where these scribes had to find like a good copy, like an actual real copy to transfer this knowledge. And that specific copy was called the exemplar, like the exemplary version of this thing that exists. And what we're seeing right now happening in the game of paintball is the evolution of the exemplar. Who is that going to be? And Meter, I really do feel as the two, you are becoming an exemplar. Marcello being so versatile and being a threat for his team, he's an exemplar. Tyler doing what he's done. And then Mouse, like I said, he is also the bar, whatever you want to call it, dude. Elite, the elite of the elite, the bar, the exemplar, whatever we want to call these people that are helping us propel these the concept of what the highest level of these skills are moving forward in this thing that we love called paintball. Like, you have to appreciate that. It's been evolving since people first picked up guns and shot them at each other in anger, and it will continue to evolve. And that's why I love watching this shit, man, because it's just so fascinating to see it evolve over time. So Quinn, thank you so much for putting this list together. Dimitri, thank you so much for being the person that you are and playing the game the way you've played it. I can't wait to see how you're going to step up in Archie's absence, because I really think you got more in the tank too, man. Like, I really do. Like, you keep getting better and better and better. So no pressure, bro. No pressure, but expecting big things. But expecting big things out of you, bro. Let's go. 2022. It's going to be badass.
Go.
Can't wait to see
Let's go.
what X Factor has to bring with the
here.
new roster.
I'm trying to be like, wrong way, this way. Trying to be like that guy.
Oh, look at that guy. Just poised, bro. Look at them big ass horns he's got.
There he is.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. So, Meter, before we let you go, any last thoughts for us?
I hope everybody watching is excited for this new year, and the more that we can interact with one another, fans and players and industry alike, the better it is for our sport. Engagement and just everything that you guys are doing. I really hope everybody, shows appreciation for it, because it's what we need. And I appreciate you guys for stepping up and doing it. It's incredible. It makes, this passion of mine that much more worth it and acknowledged. So I love it. Love all my competitors out there. Love my teammates, especially the new ones. Excited to get to know you guys more. And thank you, Alex Martinez, for making this dream continue to exist for all of us.
Well, Meter, again, dude, expecting big things out of you in 2022. But I honestly just keep doing what you do. Keep doing the exact same thing, and things are going to fall into place. It's going to be a really fun year. Quinn, what are you thinking here as we head into this new season?
I'm really excited for 2022. I think we're kind of starting to see a little bit more level of a playing field in a way with some of these moves we're seeing. I'm really excited, especially for the Latin Saints. Obviously, that's another huge conversation in itself. But Diego has really seemed like he's committed himself to making a legitimate professional team out of South America. And that's an emerging audience within the sport of paintball. And I think that's good for the sport. I think we're going to see a lot of new fans and a lot of new younger players coming up and really help grow the game. But ultimately, the thing I'm most excited for is I actually had someone ask me the other day, because they just so happened to see like a couple other profiles kind of like right after I'd post a story, they'd say like, hey, did you see this guy right away put something up too? And I kind of just say the same thing, man. I love to see that. I don't, it doesn't matter to me who breaks the story, who gets the info out. If 10 more people talk about it because some other guy shared it or pushed it or whatever, I love that. That's what it's all about. And that's the thing I'm most excited for in 2022, man.
Hey, that tells me I'm doing something right. We're doing something right. If you make it, if a thing exists and it is either interesting or is not interesting, if a lot of people find it interesting, then a lot of people are going to talk about it. So absolutely, this is not a zero-sum game. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. We're obviously going to be bringing you guys tons of stories here in the new year. Thank you guys so much for, for doing all you can to support Go Sports, the NXL, all these teams out here, Iconic Paintball. Quinn, I love what you've been doing with Iconic. And like you said, there are a lot of people out there that are starting to, put content out. Thank God. We need as many stories told as possible. We got 4 Sundays, episode 2 of 4 Sundays will be coming out here in a couple weeks. I believe 17th is the drop date for that. Then we'll have the episode.
So excited, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing it's a lot of work.
So good.
It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding. It's fun. It's a fascinating story of the 10 teams that throw down on the 4 Sundays, the most important day, our holy day here in the sport of paintball. Stay tuned to Iconic Paintball for all the behind the scenes information coming at you as we start things heading towards this year. There's definitely been a lot of news that's broken recently, so Aftermath is stacking up.
Big ones coming soon too.
Yeah, I know. It could get even more crazy. The Thunder Bears are a thing. It's getting interesting. So we're gonna have we'll have some more guests coming at you here in the new year as we move forward. I'm gonna be hopefully heading up to Northern California to get some interviews for our last bit of 4 Sundays. But anyway, Quinn, thank you so much for everything that you've been doing. When is the Icon of the Year decision going to drop? When are we gonna find out who gets the trophy for that?
So yeah, man, now that all the nominees for everything are out, we're going to start the voting. One of the guys on the voting board is yourself. And we're going to kind of get the aggregate scores of everybody. And then I'm hoping within, a week or 2 weeks here, we're going to start rolling all the winners out and kind of, getting all these trophies and the really cool Hormesis crown headbands out that we did. And I'm just, I'm really excited about it. It's been a long journey to get here, watching hundreds of hours of games. I'm just excited to see all the guys kind of, try to give a little recognition for all the hard work they do.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Well, thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing. And again, thank you guys so much for supporting us. We're trying to bring you guys the best show we possibly can. Paintball tries to be the best it possibly can. We need your support to do that. So thank you guys so much for subscribing to Go Sports. And I'm really looking forward to this year. Lots of compelling stories. Again, Quinn at Iconic Paintball is going to be helping us tell those. And there's a lot of people coming in here. It's going to be super fun. Quinn, thank you so much again for sitting in with me and doing all the hard work behind the scenes. I'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
To what would you give each moment in a day if you knew that you only get 4 unique and different days to shine? It is such an arbitrary number, 4, to be sure. But the parameters are set. You know the day of your execution or of your deliverance. This is a trial by combat. It's a day to define you, a day to test you. A day where all the torturous hours of training come together, where it's you, your gun, your preparation, your teammates, and your tenacity on display, dissected by your enemies, with your skill, your will to win, weighed and measured. It is your chance to prove to the world that in this small slice of place and time, that you above all others are to be remembered, to be respected. In the sport of paintball, it will come down to Sunday, the holy day, where you get to earn your place in the game. And in 2021, you get 4 of these. So this is the story of many moments, but of 1 year of what happens on 4 Sundays.
So hard they have to, they know it, right? Smart fucking paintball.
Malice is just saving the day again, and Malice gets the crossfield shot as well.
Guys couldn't make the corner like I was as consistent.
They get Konstantin Fedorov back. They have Todd Martinez as the coach. Randy Smith is intent on building a championship team.
I got the chills, and I was like, we're going to win this tournament.
Pressure's all on them because they're number 1 team. We're the 20th place team.
Level undefeated, the number 1 seed in their division.
They have everything to lose, and we have nothing to lose.
No one can touch Dynasty here. That was a complete masterclass.
You go to bed dreaming you get to play Impact on Sunday and send them home. Then you dream you get to play Houston Heat. Who's the other Titan? Dynasty. There's no better feeling than going up against the big Titans.